Chapter 81-Godzilla Coat. When Jiraiya activated the immortal mode, Zanyi noticed it keenly. In the face of the three-tailed man Zuli who is about to enter the complete body, he does have to use the power of immortality. You must know that in the original book, Jiraiya also faced the four-tailed prince and was severely injured. But suddenly, the three-tailed man Zuli suddenly turned his direction, quickly gathered all the chakras, condensed them into a tailed beast jade, and blasted directly at Xueni. This sudden change made many people change their faces. No. The shadow of the enemy is so far away, sniping at Lord Xueni. Damn, what should we do? Many people showed fear and helplessness on their faces. This is a tailed beast jade. How can they resist this kind of attack? Not to mention, this attack was so sudden that even Jiraiya couldn't interrupt it. Oops, that kid is going to be killed. Immortal Zima exclaimed. Concentrate, old lady, we can't control that much, we can only help Xiaozilla gather natural energy first. Immortal Fukasaku scolded. Jiraiya turned his head to look nervously, and took a deep breath. If it was Zanyi, he had a forbidden technique in his hand, and he should be able to resist it. The terrifying tailed beast jade came crashing down, tearing open a terrifying gully directly, wiping out all the blocking substances. That astonishing sense of depression made many fighting ninjas instinctively feel fear. It's the tailed beast jade again. Fuyu blocked Pippa Shazang's heavy slash, stabilized his body, and moved his eyes slightly. Don't think about it, Uchiha guy, although I don't know how you blocked the tailed beast jade in the first place, we will never let you rush over, that kid is dead. Pippa Shazang sneered and made a hoarse voice. The 7 members of Wuyin sneered one after another, and attacked Fuyu one after another, using various knives to hold Fuyu firmly. For a time, the rhythm of the battle suddenly accelerated, but Fuyu's expression remained calm. Wrong, these misty guys, they don't know at all, they ignored what an amazing monster. Okay, Shishui, haven't you been asking us how we blocked the two-tailed beast jade? Fuyu turned around and said something. Shisui, who was carried and protected by several Uchiha Junin, looked shocked at this time, his eyes widened, he quickly thought of something, and looked at the figure with an incredible look. Could it be that, is Senior Xueni, this? At this time, the tailed beast jade had already smashed towards Zanyi. Seeing that, Zanyi and his team, together with the surrounding area, would be turned into nothingness by the exploding tailed beast jade. Tailed beast jade, really convenient power. Zanyi didn't panic at all, on the contrary, for the first time, he was admiring this huge chakra ball up close. This hair-tailed beast jade is getting closer and closer, and the big guy in his stomach, vaguely, the intermittent consciousness is more and more clear. Obviously, Godzilla is very interested in the chakra of the tail beast. Star-level plants versus star-level plants, things like tailed beasts. Zanyi suddenly smiled, feeling that the connections in his body suddenly became much clearer. This smile, at this almost suffocating moment, makes people feel strange and terrifying inexplicably. Zanyi sang, in the end. Kazuki gritted his teeth, preparing to consume the last eye and activate Izanagi. If Xueni dies, then she will have no meaning to live. It is better to try to use Izanagi to modify the regional fate and try to resurrect the dead Xueni. Although it was almost impossible, Kazu still had to gamble. If you die, I will also lose my future. The speed of the three-hook jade of Yiwei suddenly accelerated. Under the terrifying oppression that covered the sky and the desperation that there was no way to escape, let people almost suffocated. Next moment. Zanyi's consciousness sank in an instant, and in that dim space and time, he met the incomparably huge big man again. This time, he stood about 50 meters away. This time, he has been able to see the big man more clearly. The vigorous and simple body, concave and convex, the surface ravines like thousand-year-old trees, densely appeared on it. This is the planet Godzilla, which binds the existence of the entire ecological environment. In the dark, when Zanyi looked up, his consciousness was intertwined, and he had a closer connection with this big man. It's time. If you like the tailed beast chakra very much, I can find a way to get it for you. Zanyi looked up and said with a smile, but only if you give me your body. Call. A powerful airflow that seemed to be breathing suddenly surged at this moment, causing a terrifying hurricane in this dim space and time. As if to tear everything apart. Immediately, in the huge shadow, vaguely, there was a terrifying claw, grabbing at Zanyi. Zanyi just raised his hand slowly, put it on it, and gently touched the giant claw that seemed to be able to shatter everything. Snapped. What was destined to shake the entire ninja world happened at this moment, in this indescribable time and space. Outside world. What is he doing? Why hasn't he moved? Is it brewing that forbidden technique? It takes so long to charge. Many people have disappointment and helplessness in their eyes. Is Konoha's strongest genius going to put an end to it? Ha! That troublesome vicious brat is finally going to die. The Kurigaku ninja was ecstatic. Just when the beast jade was about to engulf everything, turning into a terrifying roar, erasing everything. Time seemed to stand still. Among the lightning bolts, the Sengo jade in Kazuki's eyes accelerated in a frantic manner, and the Indra gene she had awakened began to be stimulated at this moment in a state beyond the past. Just when the tailed beast jade was about to erase everything. Go 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 go. Strange voices sounded. Immediately, a terrifying and depressing aura emerged from Zanyi's body, as if there was an inexplicable existence that was incompatible with this world, and suddenly appeared. In an instant, dark and vigorous substances appeared on Xuanyi's body surface, densely packed, covering his entire body. Immediately afterwards, there were a large number of unknown chakras, which were madly refined and covered Xuanyi again. The power of the tailed beast jade was suppressed on the spot, as if it had encountered an even more incomparable severe oppression. Zanyi suddenly raised his hand, his palm had turned into a dark unknown giant claw, and he grabbed it forward. Boom! The huge roar shattered the eardrums of many people, and blood spilled out. The tailed beast jade carrying endless power, in the eyes of countless unbelievable eyes, actually stagnates on the spot. The earth was turbulent, the smoke and dust boiled, and the sound of everything was crushed, and a terrifying hurricane broke out, tearing everything to pieces. Everyone can see that the terrifying tailed beast jade is being grabbed by an unknown giant claw. This is Godzilla Coat. Chapter 82_ on the shelf. It's finally on the shelves, and the 10th update is ready, please subscribe more. Chapter 83_ Is he also a man? 1/10 please order. This shocking scene almost silenced the entire battlefield. The giant claws of the terrifying unknown creature are grabbing the tailed beast jade. Old man, is this what the eldest master said? Immortal Zima paled in shock. Immortal Fukasaku said in astonishment, I can't come to a conclusion yet. There are some techniques in the ninja world that can change part of the body's appearance. Little Jiraiya, how much do you know about him? Zilai was also shocked, and looked at him in astonishment. I only knew that Zanyi had a forbidden technique, but I didn't expect it to be this form of forbidden technique. By the way, what did the great Toad Immortal say? The entire battlefield was stunned by this horrific scene, and the scalp felt numb. That is the tail beast jade. They have never seen a scene where they can resist this terrorist attack head-on, but they are still caught. Kazu, put away your Izanagi, there's no need to use the last eye in such a place. But it's really dangerous, I almost missed this chakra ball. At this time, Zanyi slowly raised his head and spoke lightly. The skin was much deeper, and slight ravines appeared on his face. Part of the body, especially an arm, turned into the appearance of Godzilla, especially the chakra that was continuously produced, turned into a sticky coat and attached to Zanyi. This was the first time that Zanyi tried to master Godzilla transformation. Although it was only the most superficial Godzilla coat, it still greatly increased his power. The only shortcoming that cannot be considered a shortcoming is that Xuanyi will use this body to refine chakra by himself. Godzilla itself doesn't have something like chakra. Even if I have its body, I have to find a way to make it myself, but the manufacturing speed is very exaggerated, so it doesn't matter. Zanyi laughed lightly, feeling his own spiritual power and vitality that had doubled and skyrocketed. The chakra coat attached to his body became heavier and heavier, no less than the tail beast coat. From a distance, it is simply another person Zuli. If you want the tailed beast jade, I'll give it back to you. Zanyi slowly raised his head, the terrifying giant force emanating from his arm, and instantly, under the eyes of countless shocking eyes, threw the tailed beast jade back on the spot. Call out. As the chakra ball whistled, it returned to its original path, tore the air in half, and smashed into the third generation of water shadows with a bang. Quote. The 3rd-generation water shadow that has become a small three-tailed, just looked up, and the next moment, he was hit on the spot. Boom! A huge explosion occurred, engulfing some nearby Kurigakushi ninjas on the spot. This blow severely damaged the morale of the Wuyin camp, and many people showed deep fear on their faces. Even the tailed beast jade was resisted so easily. What happened to that nuclear escape guy? Could it be that he is also a person Zuli? Wow, it's terrible, but what kind of forbidden technique is this? It seems to be different from what the old man told me. Zilai also hurriedly jumped into the distance, still taking the time to activate the immortal mode, and at this moment looked at this scene in amazement. In the letter that Sandai Hokage sent him, it was clearly an ultra-high temperature technique called white heat light. That is to say, what Zanyi is using now is another forbidden technique, and just by virtue of it being able to hard connect the tailed beast jade, to a certain extent, it is no less than incandescent light. And it looks so similar to the tailed beast coat, including the changed arm, it looks like a kind of tailed beast. The trick of imitating the tailed beast really exceeded my expectations. A cold voice came from the core of the explosion. When everyone looked again, where the smoke and dust dissipated, an incomparably huge silhouette appeared, with 3 tails that were comparable to hills, constantly shaking. This is a complete body-tailed beast. 3 tails. Everyone be careful, the enemy has completely transformed into a tail beast, and you are not allowed to approach easily without an order. Konoha ninjas changed their faces instinctively, but when they thought of what happened to Zanyi and the unknown ninjutsu, they miraculously felt a lot more at ease. The huge 3 tails slammed across the battlefield. This is a peculiarly shaped turtle with 3 tails. Even if he is just lying there, he is nearly 60 meters tall, which is shocking. The will of Mizukage 3, or, more to say, Madara Uchiha's will, was looking down on everything indifferently at this time. The point is to observe Zanyi. Is this the unknown giant beast I once saw, something called a companion beast? It seems that I underestimated you before. In the depths of that pupil, there are 3 Guyu flashes, exuding ominous. Companion beasts have the possibility of rivaling tailed beasts. Until now, Madara Uchiha is really interested. Originally, he planned to completely wipe out Zanyi, this restless brat, through this battle. What he needs is a spokesperson who can execute his will, even if he has his own thoughts, it doesn't matter. As long as there is no problem with the general direction, he is confident that he will not overturn. Madara was looking at Obito, not a cunning and clever man like Zanyi, who didn't even possess Uchiha's blood. And now, Madara began to look squarely at Zanyi for the first time. Something called a companion beast that can rival a tail beast. It's also interesting. At this time, a huge flame suddenly struck in an instant. Fire escaped great flame bullet. A tail twitched, setting off countless splashes of water, smashing the fireball dozens of meters in this realm. Shantha Super Jade Spiral Pill. Boom. 3 tails were hit from the front, and there was a violent explosion, and the ground sank again in an instant. This guy's tortoise shell is too hard. Jiraiya's face showed signs of toading, which was the success of the immortal mode. But even with the immortal chakra, he couldn't endlessly activate the Super Jade Spiral Pill. Not everyone has the physique of the prince, it is the Whirlpool family, it is the reincarnation of Asura chakra, and it is the pillar force of the 9-tailed man. If the three buffs are added together, no one can compare. At this time, just when Sanwei was about to get up in the indifference. In the midst of the crash, a terrifying white-hot light suddenly hit, and the high temperature of 100,000 degrees ignited almost the entire battlefield in just an instant, and slammed into Sanwei. In the area where the white-hot light passed, everything started to burn, almost crushing all forms of fire escape. Many misty ninjas who did not dodge in time were vaporized on the spot. This was the strongest incandescent light that Zanyi had ever cast in the history, and the temperature reached the upper limit of incandescent light, 100,000 degrees. Lord Jiraiya, I'll help you, I'm very interested in Mio's words. Zanyi suddenly landed in front of Jiraiya and spoke slowly. Chapter 84_ It's not too much to cut the tail 2/10. Zanyi's eyes kept roaming over the three tails that fluttered. He planned to take the opportunity to cut off a tail and feed it to Godzilla to confirm an idea. Zanyi, is it really okay for you to use the forbidden techniques one after another, and your current state is also very strange. Even Chakra's breath has changed. It feels like you are like a personal pillar now. Zilai also asked solemnly. If it wasn't for sure, Zanyi and Renzuli would not be on the same page at all, and he really suspected that Zanyi also had a tailed beast sealed in his stomach. After Lord Jiraiya entered this strange mode, he actually has the ability to perceive. Zanyi said with a smile, my current change is also my blood secret technique, it can hold up for the time being, we should still focus on solving it. This guy. Zilai also nodded solemnly, looking at Zanyi, there was a hint of approval quietly in his eyes. Zanyi uses such a terrifying thing as a forbidden technique so often. I really don't know how much lifespan it should burn. Such a young junior will definitely become the backbone of Konoha in the future, so he can't fall here too early. Jiraiya brought two toad immortals and took the lead in attacking Sanwei with a hint of urgency. The sooner the three-tailed man Zuli is defeated, the less Xueni will lose his lifespan. A terrible war broke out. Jiraiya in the immortal mode, full of firepower, all kinds of super terrifying ninjutsu have been increased by several times and dozens of times, and they are facing the tail beast. Zanyi also started to work, focusing on attacking from the side. To deal with such a big guy, radiation is useless at all, either seal or attack, it's really troublesome. Zanyi frowned slightly, no matter who it is, dealing with such a behemoth will have a headache. Boom. He suddenly stretched out his hand, and the hand instantly turned into a giant claw. The moment Sanwei got up, he pressed it on the guy's head. After a loud bang, he just pressed it down for a short time. Die. An unprecedentedly huge tailed beast jade has gathered, or in other words, this is the truly complete tailed beast jade. A complete tailed beast jade that can destroy a mountain in one shot. Tu Dun Wangquan Marsh. Jiraiya slapped the ground, and Sanwei immediately sank. Immortal Fa, Toad singing, Fudo Mingwang. Fukasaku and Shima also immediately used the strongest illusion techniques they had mastered. After the sound of the toad chirping was transmitted to Sanwei, Sanwei's movements instantly stiffened. The terrifyingly huge tailed beast jade slammed out at this moment, straight in the direction, and hit the distance. The next moment, there was a terrifying explosion, and the strong storm spread, overturning countless people on the spot. Tisk, if you get hit head-on by this thing, you'll be in trouble. Zanyi forgot to glance at the distance and sighed in admiration. The tailed beast jade condensed under the half-tailed beast transformation has limited power, but once it enters the complete body, the tailed beast jade is simply unreasonable. Little devil, you are lucky, and you escaped the disaster. Sanwei was attacked by Huang Quanquan an illusion, and remained motionless, but his eyes were fixed on Zanyi. It seems that only Zanyi can really attract his interest, and Zilai and Immortal Toad, together with this war, are not in his eyes. The deep indifference and ignorance are clearly palpable. Even if the tailed beast jade just hit me, it may not be able to kill me. You should be able to imagine this. Zanyi sneered and confronted the big guy in front of him. Is it? Mitsuo slowly closed his eyes. What about companion beasts? There are such interesting things in this world. If they really have the strength to match the tailed beasts, they are barely qualified. At this time, Zanyi shot again. Godzilla cloak, nuclear escape, nuclear clone technique. Immediately, 3 lumps of flesh emerged from Zanyi's body, and in the wriggling motion, they quickly turned into Zanyi's appearance. At the moment of landing, the 3 clones immediately began to frantically create chakra. The nuclear clone 2.0 version has a very distinct advantage. Not only does it have a terrifying self-healing ability, but it only needs to consume once the chakra when the clone is first known, and the remaining clone can create a huge amount of chakra. More importantly, after these 3 clones were separated, within a very short period of time, they quickly put on Godzilla's coat. The bright red translucent chakra coat is constantly surging. As the number of chakras refined, the outline constructed by this coat becomes clearer and clearer at this time. This is the outline of an unknown creature with a tail. 1 tail, but not one, nor any of the 9-tailed beasts. The taste of chakra is also different, it is not the tailed beast chakra. Old man, do you recognize what kind of creature this is? Could it be the one mentioned by the eldest? Jiraiya and the 2-toed immortals looked at the 4 Shweni cautiously. All kinds of thoughts quickly flashed in their minds, and they had deep doubts. What is this? What? The nuclear escape and blood follow the limit, a special bloodline, can it achieve this step? Simulate the form of the tailed orc pillar force. But now is clearly not the time to think about that. 2 immortals, we have to do it as soon as possible. Shwani's forbidden arts will consume life, and if it drags on, I'm worried about him. Jiraiya also snorted, although he couldn't figure out the reason, but he was still gratified and delighted by the strength and characteristics displayed by Zanyi. More deeply worried. After this war is over, I'll try to find some ways to restore his lifespan. That fellow Orochimaru seems to have researched on this. He also took a deep breath. Lord Jiraiya, find a way to end this big guy. We don't have a strong sealing technique, we can only rely on strong attacks to defeat him. The 4 Shweni immediately shifted their positions, stood in 4 positions, and surrounded the big turtle. Jiraiya also nodded, and the 2-toed immortals also looked at each other and started to act together. The powerful immortal chakra burst out and turned into powerful cyclones that were visible to the naked eye. Senfa Gomon. X3. Immortal Shenzuo spewed wind escape, Immortal Zima spewed fire escape, and Jiraiya also spit out heavy oil. The combination of the 3 techniques caused a terrifying fire scene in an instant, swallowing the entire 3 tails. Zanyi also started simultaneously. Godzilla cloak nuclear escape quadruple incandescent light. Under the blessing of Godzilla, 4 100,000 degree high temperatures burst out in an instant, bombarding Sanwei from 4 angles. The huge flame combined with the terrifying high temperature has the ability to destroy all matter, and at this moment, all 3 tails are wrapped. A frantic roar came out, brewing endless pain, and when Sanwei was submerged, the whole body began to show signs of loosening. This is a sign that even the complete body-tailed beast cannot be maintained. At this moment, when the terrifying attack covered everything, the powerful white-hot light blocked the line of sight, triggering a natural disaster-like power. Under the feet of Shwani's body, there was a sudden wriggling of flesh and blood, which quietly separated, and replaced Shwani's body at the moment when a strong light erupted violently. When Shwani's body appeared again, he had already appeared behind Sanwei. This time, I'll cut off one of your tails, it's not too much. Chapter-85-Shishui found faith, 3/10 please order. Stab it. In the lightning flint, a tail was cut off on the spot. The huge claws suddenly grabbed out, and when Sanwei's figure was severely damaged by the 4 layers of white heat and Gomon and gradually disappeared, this tail was caught by Shweni. Sizzle. Sanwei chakra quickly poured into Shwani's body at that time. In that dim space and time, Godzilla opened his mouth and released a terrifying suction, which devoured the tail in an instant. Chirp chirp. There was a creepy chewing sound, and after swallowing the stomach, there was a heavy exhalation sound, which seemed very satisfied. Vaguely, the planet Godzilla seemed to have undergone some changes, but it seemed that nothing had happened. It seems that Godzilla has become more localized. Zanyi first felt that the chakra on his body had quietly become thicker. This was not what he refined himself after he obtained Godzilla's power, but a new chakra that he produced spontaneously. It's interesting to think about using exotic plants to fight native plants. At this time, Sanwei, who was about to disappear, suddenly let out an angry roar. The three tails that were supposed to be controlled by Mizukage, or Madara, suddenly realized that his chakra had disappeared inexplicably, and instinctively roared. And this is not to deplete chakra, but to take away part of the chakra, share, it holds. How can this be tolerated? But after all, the three tails had no room for resistance, and the three Guyu once again controlled its thinking and suppressed its consciousness. At this moment, even Madara Uchiha, who was secretly manipulating all this, didn't know what happened. Although she was a little surprised that Sanwei suddenly became so crazy, she didn't care. What kind of bad thoughts can you have in the mere three tails? Just a plaything. This big guy can't hold it anymore. Zilai also looked overjoyed. The enemy actually let out a painful howl under such a terrifying attack. Hee, the three-tailed Manzuli is going to lose. Soon, when all the terrifying high temperature dissipated, the flames rose, and there was only a seriously injured figure left. Burned all over. It is the third generation of water shadows. I won, but if the shadow of Wuyin village is captured, then there will be a big problem. Zilai also had a headache. This time, it was thanks to Zanyi's powerful forbidden technique that he was able to take down the three generations of water shadows so quickly. This was simply a miraculous achievement. No shadow of any village was ever captured alive in the past. Lord Jiraiya, I'll leave it to you to deal with it. Zanyi retracted all his clones, looking exhausted. At the same time, with a move in his heart, he controlled a clone in the distance, and took the opportunity to let the ghost shark go. Zilai also said with relief, thanks to you this time, I didn't expect that your bloodline still contains such amazing power. Don't worry, I will help you ask that guy from Orochimaru. Then thank you Lord Jiraiya. Zanyi nodded, then pretended to have done everything, and was about to return to the camp. Many Konoha ninjas had already rushed over, protecting Shueni in the middle with a serious look, and while excited, the gazes that looked at the Kurigakushi ninjas were a little cruel. The entire battlefield, with the defeat of the three generations of water shadows, has undergone earth-shaking changes. 3 generations of Mizuying-sama. Actually lost. Impossible, the third generation is a human pillar, and if you can use the power of the three tails, how can you lose? I even used the tailed beast Jade, but I lost to Konoha's ninja. Shueni Shiranui, this brat. I knew for a long time that he would become a big problem for our village's confidant. Damn it. Didn't the village give the order to assassinate this brat before? Why didn't the 7 people of Karayan take action? At that time, the Kurigakushi ninja was in chaos, and in addition to being frightened, he couldn't help cursing. The faces of the Wuyin 7 people at this time were as black as the bottom of a pot. 3 generations of adults actually lost. Lost to Jiraiya and that nuclear escape kid. The Black Holeya slashed out a large piece of thunder with a strong unease on his face. That kid, following Jiraiya, who severely injured the 3 generations of Mizukage, was their assassination target before. Hiss. The faces of the 7 people in Wuyin are extremely bad. Such a terrifying little devil, the village actually asked them to find an opportunity to assassinate. Fortunately, I didn't listen to those guys at the beginning, otherwise it would be troublesome. It is said that the kid used a forbidden technique, but I don't know what price he will pay for using this power. Even if we have to pay the price, it will be very troublesome for this kid to be in a hurry. It is not something we can easily deal with. Any kind of forbidden technique cannot be overemphasized, not to mention the forbidden technique possessed by Zanyi is an attack with enormous lethality. And the chakra coat that is highly similar to the human column force. Let's retreat. The 3 generations of Mizukage have been defeated, and Yuanshi and Yakura can't say anything. I really hope that the next time I see that wicked kid, he's already using the forbidden technique too much and is about to die. The owner of a famous ninja sword, while fearful at this time, showed a sneer, forcing back the attacks of the Hinata and Uchiha clan, and quickly escaped. Master Patriarch, the enemy has retreated, are you going to attack? Zishui asked excitedly. The eyes in his eyes, at this time, have advanced to Urgoyu. Jilai has not given an order, so we don't need to do extra things. Ji Shui, Urgoyu, who is less than 11 years old. This kind of talent might be able to rival Yue. Fuyu sat exhausted on a pile of rocks and looked at Shishui in surprise. My Uchiha clan is indeed the cradle of genius. No, the patriarch, compared to that senior, I'm nothing at all. The only thing I should do is to become a person like Senior Xuanyi. Zishui watched with excitement and fanaticism, the person who was actively protected and surrounded by more and more companions. Loud cheers, unbelievable tears, the dawn of victory. All of this filled the surroundings of that senior. Under the gaze of Zishui's pair of writing wheel eyes, Senior Shiranui Xuanyi, like a sun, spontaneously attracted more and more people to approach. Senior Yue shouldn't be the target I'm chasing, Senior Xuanyi is. I heard that Senior Xuanyi is still a man with full marks in theory class and has an unshakable position in theory. Shishui was breathing rapidly, and his eyes gleamed. No wonder Senior Yue, such an excellent and proud person, would be willing to follow Senior Xuanyi's side. Calm, humble, reliable, inheritor of the will of fire, this. Shishui couldn't help trembling all over, as if a person walking in the dark suddenly found the light of the light. Although he was only 10 years old, he had already vaguely noticed Shisui, who had a huge gap between the Uchiha clan and the village, and vaguely knew what he should do. If he follows Senior Xuanyi, if it is Senior Xuanyi's wisdom, maybe he can guide him to find a way out. A road that can restore peace between the Uchiha family and the village. Chapter 86_Shake the Ninja World, 4/10 please order. The Kirigase ninja fled. Yuanshi and Yakura reluctantly pulled up a force and rushed towards the 3 generations of Mizukage who were seriously injured and fell to the ground. This time, Konoha still wins. Yakura said coldly. I just hope you can learn your lesson and don't start a new war. Zilai also said in a low voice. Master Yuan sneered. This is not your decision. As long as the war in the ninja world does not end, we will never stop attacking. The entire Wuyin camp suffered a major rout. Jiraiya looked at the distant enemy and fell silent. After this battle, Konoha's pressure can be relieved a little bit. Jiraiya, if it's all right, we'll go back. Yes, the food is probably cold. Immortal Zima complained. Trouble the 2 immortals. But you just talked about that the eldest master mentioned an unknown creature. When you go to Miaomu Mountain next time, ask the eldest master in person. The 2 toad immortals looked at each other and disappeared with a bang. Zilai also frowned, looking at Zanyi who was surrounded by countless people cheering in the distance. His brows loosened, and he shook his head with a smile. No matter what happens, this Xuanyi is Konoha's person, that's enough. Compared with worrying about such illusory things, what makes Jirai even more worried is that Zanyi used those forbidden techniques just now, and how much did it cost? The decisive battle on the Eastern Front came to an end. On the vast battlefield, the environment changed suddenly, beyond recognition, and there were traces of being bombarded by various ninjutsu everywhere. Countless exhausted people are bathing in the sunset and enjoying this hard-won peace. There are more than 5,000 people, and only 3,000 are left. It is conceivable how tragic this battle was. But luckily the end was good. Every name resounding in the sky is destined to stand on top of the skeletons, and through this battle, the name of Shiranui began to spread wildly in the entire ninja world. Every country knows Xuanyi's name, and every village leader picks up Xuanyi's information with a solemn expression. I don't know the fire. From the Warring States period to the present, this small family has never produced any powerful ninjas. The nuclear escape and blood follow the limit. It's really a talent that makes people jealous. Why does it appear in a place like Konoha? This kid blocked the three-tailed beast Jade. Oh, it's just a forbidden technique. Such a short-sighted idiot is essentially a weapon. After a few uses, it will be abolished. Don't worry. The leaders of various villages have obtained information about Xuanyi, and all the information that can be collected about Xuanyi has fallen into their hands. What really caught their attention was the tricky chakra poison attack. It is said that many of the ninjas of the Rock Ninja and the Sand Ninja have terrible sequelae, and ordinary medical ninjas are helpless in the face of such sequelae, and can only relieve them at best. Such a dangerous weapon. I hope Konoha can be consumed as soon as possible. This year pops into the minds of many people. They wished that Zanyi could perform a few more highlights, and then because the frequency of using the forbidden technique was too high, he finally destroyed himself. 13 can barely hurt Ying by relying on one-handed forbidden art. The more you use it, the faster you die. Soon, the news of the victory of the decisive battle on the Eastern Front finally came back to Konoha. The entire Konoha suddenly fell into a huge cheer and celebration, and turned into a sea of joy. Everyone understands the meaning of this battle, which means that the brutal 3 battles are at least half over. As long as Iwa Shinobi and Sand Shinobi can be defeated on the Western Front, this 4-year war can be declared over. Naruto building. Really, is the war on the Eastern Front generally over? 3 generations of Hokage's face showed deep relief. In my heart, I also breathed a sigh of relief. Although nearly 40% of the troops were lost, as long as they can win, everything will be fine. The ghost knows how much pressure Konoha is under now. Sun Zan, we defeated Wuyin. The main target as Yan'an's Union will also be shocked, and the overall situation of the Eastern Front has stabilized. Turning to bed, Xiaochun said with a look of joy. Nito Menyon praised. Danzo, in the letter sent back by Jiraiya, I greatly appreciate your disciple. Without him, this battle would not have been so smooth. Danzo still had a gloomy expression on his face, slamming the ground heavily, and said, HMPH, it's just something that doesn't live up to its expectations. Quote. For a time, the entire office fell into a brief silence, and even the 3 generations of Hokage looked strange at Danzo. Danzo continued to speak. The biggest question now is, how much will Xuanyi pay for the power he uses? White heat is a forbidden technique, and the method that can imitate the coat of a tailed beast by imitating the jade of the tailed beast, I am afraid it is also banned by blood. Technique, you know. 3 generations of Hokage took a sip of his pipe and nodded solemnly. Konoha, you will never treat your heroes and geniuses badly. No matter how much his lifespan is shortened, the village will do its best to remedy it. Danzo nodded. A few of them felt a little worried. Zanyi, how much life is left? What exactly is that unknown forbidden technique that imitates the coat of the tailed beast? Danzo, when Zanyi returns, I plan to summon him to ask about the forbidden technique, perhaps another forbidden technique that can be listed in the Book of Seals, said the 3rd Hokage. HMPH, I will handle this matter myself, my disciple, I will be in charge. Danzo has a cold face, but everyone can understand that after this battle, Danzo, and Gen, really have successors. Moreover, he also possesses talents that are beyond everyone's imagination, and he also possesses a powerful forbidden technique. In this way, the old man has a little more confidence in planning the position of Hokage. HMPH, if the disciples of Rigian can do it, the disciples of this old man can also do it. This way, you don't have to always rely on that guy, Orochimaru. Danzo thought silently. There's one more thing, it's about Mat Dai. 3 generations of Hokage took out another document and motioned to show it to the other 3. Matadai, 10,000 years of Renin, use the 8 martial arts of Dunjia on the battlefield, and he can actually fight against the 7 people of Fog Hidden in a short period of time. 8-door Dunjia. The Konoha consultants were surprised and began to look at the content carefully. They were not familiar with this technique. 10,000 years of forbearance. Can you fight against the 7 people of Fog Hidden for a short time? Besides, Matai is the subordinate of that Zanyi. This is very interesting. As for Matai, I think. Nito Menyon was a little moved, and was about to speak. Danzang suddenly knocked on the ground. I don't want you to think that Matai has been my disciple's subordinate for many years, and he is also a root person. Nito Menyon resolutely shut up. The root organization is very tricky, the power is too great, the authority is too high, and sometimes even Hokage doesn't know what the root people are doing secretly. If that's the case, then we'll talk about it all when Zanyi comes back. 3 generations of Hokage put aside the controversy. Chapter 87-Roots Goal. Akatsuki, 5/10 please order. Some of the ninjas on the eastern front returned to the village first. A large number of villagers stood on the side of the road, cheering loudly, calling for the dawn of peace. When Xuanyi crossed the gate and entered the village, this important welcome ceremony reached its peak. It's really lively, these people who call for peace. I really hope that things like war will never appear. Zanyi smiled and waved to the surroundings. Behind him, there were many wounded in bandages. These were the first batch of ninjas to return to Konoha. But unfortunately, after all, it is just an extravagant hope. That person is Lord Xuanyi. It is said that he was on the front line and joined forces with Lord Jiraiya to defeat the 3rd generation of Water Shadows. You, Ri so young. The war on the Eastern Front is over. As long as Orochimaru, Tsunade and Minato-sama defeat Iwa Shinobi and Sand Shinobi again, everything will be over. Many people's faces showed deep anticipation and joy. In the bloody battle for 4 years, they lost too much and paid too much sacrifice, and finally saw the dawn of peace. Many Zanyi's contemporaries also stood in the team, looking at Zanyi with complicated expressions. He has left us far away, Hong whispered. Asma gritted her teeth, although she was unwilling, she could only sullenly agree. He is a rebel, but not a fool. What's more, facing a monster like Zanyi, he could not see any hope of transcendence for the time being. Is such a guy with the will to fire really right? The old man is right, and I am wrong. Asma doubted life. Zishui was also in the team returning to the village, looking left and right with excitement on his face. His name of Shunshi Zishui also started in this battle. Senior Xuanyi, many people are calling your name. Zishui said excitedly. Calm down, Shishui, this is just a routine operation. Zanyi patted Shishui's shoulder. Yes, as expected of Senior Zanyi, did you already prepare for this kind of scene? Well, they are not just cheering for us, they are cheering for peace. All warriors who can bring them peace will be sought after. Shishui, you have to remember this, everything I do, it's about working towards everlasting peace. Senior Xuanyi, is this the awakening of the inheritor of the will of fire? Jishui looked at Zanyi's back and was greatly shocked. He found that not only the level of strength and thought, but also the vision, this senior was far ahead of him. Zishui suddenly discovered that he, who was obsessed with paying attention to the struggle between one clan and one village, had unknowingly entered into narrowness, which made Zishui extremely ashamed. Shishui, don't look at me like that. Zanyi was a little puzzled. What happened to this depression? Is it possible that he is starting to be depressed now? How did this happen? This guy's eyes are very useful, but he can't commit suicide like the original. After the ceremony, Zanyi finally ushered in freedom. The first thing he did was go to the root base and meet Danzo. I heard about you on the front line, and you deserve to be the disciple of this old man. Danzang nodded indifferently, as if everything Xuanyi did was just normal. I heard that you got a white eye. Yes, I have taken back this precious eye from the enemy. Zanyi took out a glass vessel with a white eye in it. Buy-in. The Hyuga sect's family is not as good as a generation. They tried their best to develop the technique of caged birds to protect Bayan, but they were taken away by the guy in the fog. Danzang sneered. Teacher, why don't you leave this to me to deal with? I am very interested in the bloodline of this 1,000-year-old family, Hyuga. Danzo gave Zanyi a deep look, not knowing what was going on. The more he looked at it, the more pleasing his eyes became. To be able to ask for a blank eye so clearly and openly, and bluntly say that he wants to decipher the mystery of the bloodline of the Rixiangzong family. Oh, he is indeed the disciple of this old man. This subclass me. Although I don't know how proficient you are in human experiments, but you were fooling around with that genius of the Uchiha family, and the old man didn't stop you, because the old man didn't care about the life and death of that genius. Do you understand what the old man means? Of course, don't worry, I won't destroy this precious white eye. Zanyi said with a smile. Dealing with Danzang is really easy. Many things only need to be mentioned, and the sullen Danzang will understand in seconds. Don't even bother to wear it. HMPH, since this is the case, I don't have to hide it from you. In fact, the old man himself is also ordering the roots to carry out some necessary human experiments. All of this is for Konoha. Zanyi also said solemnly, everything is for Konoha. Danzo nodded. The teacher and apprentice were silent for a while. Danzo suddenly asked, you used a brand new secret technique again. The technique that imitates the coat of a tailed beast. Zanyi nodded calmly. That's right, I just tried it, but I didn't expect it to be successful. You got some kind of psychic beast, right? Try artificial tailed beast. The previous 9-faced Su-Pohei was prepared for this. Danzang asked. Ah, Danzo-sensei can see the problem at a glance. HMPH, it's not just the old man, they can think of Rigian. Please don't worry, this is also the power that I have mastered, but the psychic beast is more troublesome and likes to sleep. As a disciple of this old man, you must not be threatened by a beast. There are a lot of sealing techniques and brainwashing in the roots. You can take them all, it is not enough for the old man will find it for you from the Book of Seals. In short, you must think about it. Way to tame that vile beast. Danzo held a cane and slammed the ground hard. In this dark underground base, it spread far away. Zanyi looked moved. This attitude made Danzo very satisfied, and he couldn't help but nodded secretly. Also, if the old man asks you to turn in the artificial tail beast. Tanzo-sensei, of course I'm willing to hand it in, but the problem is, no one can repeat this technique except me, said Danzo-sensei. Zanyi said with a smile. Danzo subconsciously frowned, a little unhappy, and at the same time he remembered Zanyi's ability, which seemed to involve the operation of molecules and atoms, which really did not fit him. 9-faced Su-Pohei. Anyway, compared with the intercolumnar cells and the writing wheel, it is not worth mentioning. After a cold snort, Danzo turned around and left without saying a word. Just when his entire figure was about to disappear into the darkness, he spoke again. If your lifespan is not enough, you can come to the old man. In addition, you and the old man's will are very compatible, and it is time for you to perform some secret tasks. The old man has a connection with Hanzo in the Land of Rain, which is done without the knowledge of the 3 generations. On the 12th of next month, you will lead a team of ninjas to the country of Rain and meet that dangerous guy Hanzo. This task is not difficult. The 2 sides launched a joint operation in order to strengthen trust. The goal of the task is to eliminate a local armed organization in the country of Rain. The name of that organization is Xiao. Chapter-88-Dragon King Sprinkling Water, 6/10 is the addition of the leader of the repeated important matters. Zanyi walked out of the root base, faced the blue sky, and took a deep breath. Behind him, several root ninjas spread out and hid, spontaneously protecting Zanyi's safety. Actually, are you going to attack the Xiao organization? Some articles can be made in this. The idealist Yahiko must die. This guy is now Akatsuki's leader. That idealism is really contagious. Xuanyi thought. He is not against idealism, but such an ideal guy has a huge obstacle to him leveling the world. Not to mention, he has now embarked on the road of competing for tailed beasts, and he wants to take over the authority of tailed beasts in this world a little bit. Xiaonan and Nagato's words. Xiaonan is easy to handle, there is no difference between living and dead, but Nagato's words, his samsara eyes. Zanyi touched his chin, he was very interested in samsara eye, but Madara obviously wouldn't let him succeed so easily. Heiju, who was hiding in the dark, would not allow him to succeed. It's getting more and more interesting. Zanyi chuckled lightly and strolled down the streets of Konoha. As the war on the Eastern Front came to an end, the streets were now a little more popular, and the pedestrians also felt a little more relaxed. The dawn of victory is beckoning, and they should all celebrate. Zanyi could also take the opportunity to relax and develop new techniques. I used Godzilla's coat for the first time, but it didn't cause any damage to the body, and I also discovered very interesting things. Zanyi came to a training ground, jumped directly onto a wooden stake, and scrutinized it carefully. Godzilla's coat is just a preliminary use of Godzilla's power. Moreover, the feeling is very strange, as if, from a flesh and blood body, he is constantly transforming into a walking plant. The words of plants. Zanyi thought about it, he thought of Baiju, and he thought of Mudun of the first Hokage. Both of them are derived from the power of the 10-tailed divine tree. Godzilla is also a plant, and once transformed all the animals and plants of the entire earth into its subsidiary derivatives. Even the most common plant is radioactive, and is harder and sharper than steel. Mudden is something like this. If I further master Godzilla's power, it's not impossible, but it's not a Mudden like the first Hokage, but a special Mudden that belongs to me. Zanyi touched his chin. Time passed, and in the evening, Zanyi got up, first went to the food street to buy large and small bags of food, and then returned home. Dai and Kai have already started frantically cleaning Zanyi's house. They have been doing this for many years, and they are used to it. Let's take a rest, I bought a lot of delicious food, eat it while it's hot. Zanyi said with a smile. Oh, Zanyi-san, then we're welcome. I'm starting. The father and son immediately sat down at the table and devoured them. Speaking of which, Zanyi-san, it's delicious, you haven't come back all day today, do you have a new mission? Kei shoved a grilled fish into his mouth and asked vaguely. Well, there is indeed a new mission. Don't look at me that way. I don't plan to take you on this mission. This is the mission of Gen, and it has nothing to do with you. Zanyi smiled lightly. No, if it's Zanyi-san's business, it's our business. Kai stays here to practice, please let me go. Dai immediately said solemnly. They, positioning themselves, are more and more inclined to retainers. Snapped. Zanyi put down his chopsticks and shook his head. Call Dai and Kai. Don't be kidding, when the task is carried out, these two second-hand goods rush up to be a big whirlwind of Konoha. As long as Nagato is not an idiot, he can definitely be tracked down. Bringing Dai and Kai is the worst idea. Even if you bring away, it is better than bringing their father and son together. I have already decided that you will stay in Konoha to cultivate. Although the war on the Eastern Front is over, those guys from Kurikan will never admit defeat so willingly. What kind of espionage wars and assassination wars will only emerge one after another, the two of you? One has to stay at Konoha village. Quote. Also, Mr. Dai, don't open the dead door without my permission. This is an order, Zanyi ordered. According to the tricks of the 3 generations of Hokage, Dai will definitely be used as a consumable by them. I will also tell Teacher Danzo about this matter and go to the next level of insurance. Zanyi glanced at the ignorant father and son and shook his head. Let's continue to eat. After eating, Zanyi got up and prepared to wash the dishes. Wait, Zanyi-san, during the day, I exchanged a very powerful water ninjutsu from the village and learned it. I can wash the dishes with water ninjutsu. Kai immediately raised his arms and shouted loudly. Quote. Oh, Kai, my son, Did you actually learn ninjutsu? This is the power of youth. Yes, my father, Zan Yisong. I found that practicing ninjutsu is actually not difficult. As long as I extract chakra and run it in the meridians, I can display it. Let me show you the results of my practice. Kai's hands began to seal continuously, running chakra. Zan Yi watched this scene with interest. Kai, the future blue beast under his command, actually turned to learn ninjutsu. Still learned. Swish swish. Kai Yi connected 44 seals, and Zan Yi's brows twitched when he saw this complicated process of forming seals. With such a long seal, could it be that technique? Zan Yi's eyes narrowed. Kai, are you? Water escape water dragon ball technique. Kai shouted loudly, with amazing power, and the whole person seemed to be on fire. I saw him puffing out his cheeks and suddenly spraying out a stream of water. 10 centimeters long towards the sink. Oh, Shui Dun, it's really Shui Dun. Kai, you have grown up. Father, Zan Yisong, I succeeded, I did not disappoint you. Dai and Kai knelt on the ground hugging each other and crying. Quote. Zan Yi looked at the two guys blankly, then turned his head and glanced at the sink. Is this the water dragon bullet technique that the second Hokage used to trap people? Good guy, it's not easy to cultivate to become the Dragon King spraying water. After a long time, Zan Yi spoke slowly. Kai, go and throw away all these bowls, and then buy a new one. The cost will be deducted from your remuneration, not reimbursed. Mr. Dai, I think Kai might as well continue to work hard in physique. The 8 dungeon techniques are enough for him to eat for a lifetime. Kai was shocked. What? Zan Yisong, these bowls are good, why throw them away? It's too wasteful. Although we are rich now, you can't forget how poor we were back then. Quote. Go, or I'll kill you. Chapter-81-100 Reincarnation, Right Rebirth. Root's Secret Base. Xuanyi used the shadow clone technique to directly separate a large number of clones, and picked up various medical books to observe an experiment. Each shadow clone has its own task. After completing the task, it will be disbanded immediately, and then Xuanyi will create a new shadow clone, repeating the cycle. The knowledge that Zan Yi has mastered is superimposed at an astonishing speed. With such a reserve of knowledge, it is enough. Zan Yi started to work, and formally began to study the precious white eye. Zan Yi has no interest in controlling the bloodline of Yumura, but at least he needs to know about it. Sooner or later, he will face off against the Otsutsuki clan. According to Zan Yi's estimation, if he wants to achieve the goal of leveling the world, he will even try to uproot the extraordinary path of ninjas. Kagaya Otsutsuki is just one of many stumbling blocks. The descendants of Hanamura on the moon, and the guys who are wandering in the universe, constantly destroying life planets one after another. Also, the Otsutsuki clansmen who are lurking somewhere in the ninja world are the targets he wants to clean up. Every Otsutsuki has the combat power of the 6 paths, constantly blasting the stars and smashing the moon with his bare hands, and at every turn the golden wheel reincarnates and smashes the moon. This is a very tough bunch of guys. The Crown Prince and Urzuzi were shriveled in the face of Otsutsuki. If Zan Yi really wanted to achieve his goal, he really needed a lot of thugs. God of Chakra, the Cosmos-level ethnic group Otsutsuki. Zan Yi couldn't help shaking his head. Chakras, blood snares, etc., it would be better to devour them all. Let you run across the universe to the ninja world to sample chakra. Zan Yi started, and began to carefully peel off some surface cells from the white eyes. This process requires extreme caution. Then, Zan Yi began to monitor the DNA sequence of Bian. Bian is the preparatory stage for Tensaizen. If you gather enough white eyes, you can give birth to Tensaizen. The key is gene fusion. As time passed, Zan Yi silently began to memorize the genetic sequence of Bian. Then, a little bit of radiation was used to stimulate the white eye cells. A large number of DNA sequences began to appear unstable, but equally, there were some genes that were as stubborn as a rock. Even radiation stimulation will make these genes transition from dormant to activated state. Similar to Kazu's situation, the life genes of the Otsutsuki clan are indeed powerful. Zanyi revealed a clear expression. The Otsutsuki family can traverse the universe, and they are 6-level life forms themselves, which can be said to be sacred per person. Their core genetic code has the ability to resist cosmic radiation. However, the resistance is high and the resistance is high. Without the protection of chakra, cells with activated gene sequences appeared sporadically, struggled for a while, and finally died. Yuehui awakened Indra's genes before dying, and successfully acquired the ability to convert my negative radiation power into stimulating the body. At least within a few minutes, I can withstand a large amount of radiation with my flesh and blood and not die. In the words of the Hinata clan, the blood of Hanamura. Shweni pondered for a while, and called Iroha directly. He looked down at the expressionless Iroha. Even though Iroha saw the eyes of the Zong family, the cold and numb face did not show any emotional fluctuations. He has been transformed into a good tool by Danzo. Zanyi said, Aluha, as my contemporaneous, you can be said to have watched my growth with your own eyes. Let alone me, even Kazu left you far behind. Now you, Kazu, there are no more than 3 rounds in the hand. Quote. Iroha said, yes, Master Shweni and Kazu are geniuses. It's a bit one-sided to say that. I need to confirm one thing now. Do you want to be a genius like Kazu? Do you want to follow in my footsteps? Iroha, I'm going to conduct an experiment on you. Maybe you can become a genius like Kazu, but the price of failure is death. Shweni stared at Iroha. Iroha was silent for a while, then said coldly, if I can become a better tool in the hands of Lord Shweni, I am very willing to accept the experiment. Quote. Very well, I can clearly feel this realization. Zanyi patted it with one hand and put it on Iroha's shoulder. Then, with a bang, countless radiation particles rushed into Iroha's body and began to wreak havoc. Iroha fell to the ground in pain, and his body began to change significantly. Quote. Isn't it okay? Sure enough, not everyone has the gene-stimulating talent of Yue. Zanyi shook his head, stretched out his hand, and pulled up Iruba, who was in great pain, and then threw it directly onto the experimental bench. Several clones gathered immediately. Iroha, as a member of the branch family, you have been implanted with the technique of caged birds. These eyes are born with a visual angle defect. Now, I'll give you a chance to dig out one of your old eyes and transplant this precious white eye to you. Don't let me down. Zanyi hadn't started yet. Iroha, already enduring the pain, stretched out his hand tremblingly and dug his right eye. But the next moment, when the right eye was about to be dug out, the caged bird technique was activated, and this eye was destroyed. Even with the other eye, it was also destroyed. Iroha covered his bleeding eyes and let out a roar. But the brain was not destroyed and survived. The technique of the bird in the cage is really a severe sealing technique. The life and death of the recipient is controlled by the sect, and even the potential of the white eyes is locked, and it will never surpass the sect. It stands to reason that this sealing technique will be automatically activated when the white eye is stolen, destroying the eyes and brain of the recipient, but there is a loophole that is not a loophole. Zanyi chuckled lightly. What if, for a variety of reasons, the separated family lost only one eye in an instant? For example, on the battlefield, if you don't dodge in time, you are blinded in one eye by a kunai, but you still have another healthy eye. Can you continue to maintain combat effectiveness? The technique of the caged bird will be activated automatically. Will it not only destroy the healthy eyes of this clan, but also destroy the brain? Zanyi is also gambling, but now it seems that this sealing technique is not so strict, and there is a possibility of taking advantage of it. Iroha was blinded, but he survived without his brain being damaged for the time being. The transplant operation officially begins. The white eye that belonged to the clan, at this moment, was transplanted to Iroha's right eye. Afterwards, Shweni stretched out his hand and pressed it on Iroha's face, and the medical ninjutsu was activated, which accelerated the healing of the wound. When Iroha knelt in front of Shweni again, the empty left eye is completely clear, but the incomparably bright right eye radiates light in the dimness. The taut blue veins are all telling the value of these eyes. These eyes can see very clearly. Iroha murmured in a low voice, and at this moment, his emotions that should have been obliterated, there was a rare wave of long-lost fluctuations. The haze of family separation is leaving him. Since then, Zanyi has two kinds of eyes in his hands. Left eye Uchiha Kazu. Right eye Hinata Iroha. Next, we need to resolve the matter of the Zong family. Chapter 90_Eternal Tensegan, 8/10 is the addition of the leader of the repeated important things. A fierce quarrel broke out within the Hinata clan over how to get that white eye back. The Zong family naturally does not intend to let it go. There is only one person in each generation of the Zong family, which leads to the preciousness of the eyes. There are even some people from the clan, who plan to go directly to the 3 generations of Hokage to preside over justice. If it was Lord Hokage of the 3rd generation, he would definitely not let that fellow Shweni mess around. This is not Shwani's problem, not even the root problem, but Danzo's problem, that tolerance darkness is not a guy who easily compromises. At the Hyuga clan meeting, many high-level Hyuga officials quarreled. The patriarch, Hyuga Hazu, looked at these people with a blank expression. Rizai is still stationed on the front line, staring at those guys in the fog. I plan to listen to his opinion first. Rizu said. Patriarch, it is urgent to take back the white eyes, otherwise, why are you worried that the secrets of our clan's Shueiji will be exposed? Rizu suddenly sneered, since that eye was poached by the Misty guys, our Shueiji has no secrets, and now Bayan fell into Gen's hands, at least it was much better than falling into the enemy's hands. Master Rizu, this matter. Needless to say, continue to wait. If I go to see Danzo at this time, it will attract the attention of the 3 generations of Hokage. If I go directly to the 3 generations of Hokage, Danzo is not easy to explain. Wait for the day to come. Suggestion. Quote. Rizu opened his mouth in a deep voice. Everyone fell into silence collectively, and they played the traditional coping strategy of this family, go. No one wants to offend anyone, be careful, and have an extremely closed and conservative family style. In fact, many Hyuga clansmen have also faintly realized that if Danzo and Shweni really pushed them into a hurry, they would simply don't have that eye. At this time, someone reported that Shweni and Iroha were visiting. Iroha is here too. Kazu frowned slightly. Lord Patriarch, this is good news, he wants to reconcile. No matter what Zanyi wants, ninjutsu, secret art, wealth, as long as we can return the eyes of our family, everything is easy to say. He is a disciple of Danzo. In addition to the caged bird technique and soft boxing technique, we also have some techniques in the group. Soon, Shweni walked in with Iroha, and looked at Iroha's eyes with shock. Some people even stood up on the spot and said angrily, Iroha, what the hell is going on? Your eyes. You have white eyes transplanted. How can people who are separated from the family have the eyes of the clan transplanted? You can't go wrong. The technique of the bird in the cage was activated, and all his original eyes were blinded. In addition to the horror, the people who separated from the family moved slightly and remained silent. Several members of the clan felt that they had been offended, and they were so angry that they would use the caged bird technique on the spot to destroy Iroha's brain. Everyone, I'm here this time to tell you that I've found a good way to deal with white eyes. Zanyi stared at the guys in the Zong family with indifferent eyes. Click it. A large number of bumps like ancient tree bark appeared on Zanyi's body at this moment. A thick layer of chakra coat was draped in a bang, and behind him, a chakra tail was thrown out. The huge pressure that came in an instant pressed out the cracking marks on the ground. If you are so rude in front of me and want to use the technique of a bird in a cage on my subordinates, I will not hold back. Zanyi slowly raised his head. This is an extremely offensive move, you know what you are doing, right? Everyone in the entire hall sank in their hearts, opened their eyes one after another, and looked at Zhanyi's current state. But no matter how they looked at it, they found that at this moment, Xuanyi was essentially no different from Ren Zuli. What the hell is going on with this guy? And the outline constructed by the chakra coat is not any known tailed beast. This is what Rizai mentioned in the letter. Rizu was under a lot of pressure, looking at Xuanyi at this moment. A long time, he said in a deep voice. Disperse all the seals, the technique of caged birds should not be used arbitrarily on the same clan. He looked at Zhanyi again, and said, looking at your appearance, you must have made a decision to destroy Iroha's eyes, and then transplant the eyes of the clan. This is also an offense to our family. Bayan is always in the hands of your family, Alubo, surnamed Hinata, this is what I told you. Zhanyi slowly took back Godzilla's coat, and said calmly, this is an opportunity that Nizai won by relying on his own performance. The white eyes of the Hyuga clan will belong to Hyuga, this is the answer I gave. What's more, this eye is my trophy, and I have the right to dispose of it. If you are really capable, you should kill Ching yourself and take the eye back. Iroha, let's go, Danzo-sensei's task must be completed as soon as possible. Giggle. Zhanyi took Iroha, who said nothing, turned around and left, and just walked out of the Hyuga family. This made all the sects look extremely ugly. But those separated families were unexpectedly calm, burying their heads as if they were asleep. Kazu sighed. What a terrifying little brat. In this way, we can't act lightly at all, otherwise the Hyuga family will be split first. Family and branch. There has never been such a situation in the past 1,000 years for the existence of Iroha's eyes transplanted. What's more, this was probably ordered by Danzo, this kind of thing. Although he was a little unwilling, thinking that his eyes always fell on his own family members, he was reluctantly acceptable. Zhanyi, who walked out of the Hyuga gate, looked back. Iroha, this is the family you came from. What did you see with your new eyes? Zhanyi said lightly. Rotten, numb, lifeless, indecisive, said Iroha. Remember, your surname is Hyuga, but Hyuga is not the same as Hyuga. Don't go the same way as these guys. You've already broken free for something like a caged bird. I'll find a way to free you completely. Zhanyi said something. With Tenseigan, it would be easy to completely break the caged bird technique. Bai Yan wants to advance into the eternal Tenseigan, and it is definitely not possible to learn emotional stimulation like the Uchiha family. You can only go the assembly route, like the descendants of Yumura on the moon, put together countless Baiyan to synthesize the reincarnation. Of course, the Otsutsugi clan transplanting white eyes is another method. It can also be advanced into a Tenseizen, but if such a Tenseizen is buckled again, it will automatically degenerate into a white eye. Eternal Tenseigan is valuable. Let's take a look first, if it's really necessary. Xuanyi stared at Iroha's right eye, then turned to look at the door of the Hyuga family, and pondered for a while. Get ready, Iroha, next month you will go to the land of rain with me on a mission. Yes, Lord Xuanyi. Chapter 91-Obito's death, goodbye Obito. Uchiha family. On the training ground, the two figures were in a fierce confrontation. Shishui faced Kazui's strong attack, and was suppressed from beginning to end. Only his instant body and illusion skills could cause some disturbance to Kazui. In the end, when Kazuki brought Kuujiya to Shishui's neck, the battle was over. It's amazing, Senior Kazu has left me far. Taijutsu, pupil jutsu, ninjutsu, and even the resistance to illusions is so strong. Zishui looked shocked. In the face of Yue, his so-called genius fell into a disadvantage in all directions. You are already very good. At your age, I am probably not as strong as you. Kazuki praised. She knew her weight, and it was because of Zhanyi's strength that she was just named a genius. Shishui is the true genius of Uchiha. No, you are too modest, I still have a lot to learn from my seniors. Shishui said, and then immediately changed the subject. Senior Yue, your other eye, what exactly? Well, something went wrong and it was used to save my life. Shishui nodded silently. A senior with one eye is so strong, if he has two eyes together. Senior Yue, I don't know what Lord Xuanyi is doing. Shishui changed the subject abruptly. Kei said he was going on a secret mission for Root. Really? Ji Shui felt a little regretful. He still wanted to find an opportunity to visit Senior Zanyi, hoping to get some inspiration from him. Kazuki ignored Shishui, but looked up into the distance. The news that Zanyi entered the Hyuga clan has quietly spread, and of course Uchiha also got the news. Hyuga, hey, Kazuki sneered. Come to think of it, Zanyi-san would not easily compromise with the Hyuga clan. And, compared to this, Kazu focused more on his left eye. At first, when facing the tailed beast Jade, this eye seemed to undergo some changes, but in the end it did not come true. Time goes by. More and more Eastern Front personnel began to return to Konoha little by little. This made this prosperous village, which had been withering a lot, finally a little more angry, and everyone was looking forward to the dawn of victory. At this moment, an exciting news came back from the battlefield on the Western Front. The Kamyubi Bridge was blown up, and the war on the Western Front achieved a major victory. Everyone is celebrating, but some things mixed in this great news have been ignored by the happy people. Uchiha Obito died in battle at Kamabashi Bridge. Even the body could not be preserved. It is said that his whole person was buried in the ground. Uchiha Obito, is he dead? After hearing the news, Kazu paused. After all, they had performed missions together. Yue immediately found Xuanyi, but found that Xuanyi was practicing ninjutsu very calmly, and did not show unnecessary emotions. It was this calmness that made Kazuki, who was familiar with Zanyi, aware of something abnormal. Zanyi-san, have you developed a new technique again? Well, that's right, I barely have a clue. Zanyi glanced at it and walked directly into Kazu who was within his radiation range. Only Yue dared to do this. You don't look surprised at all. Kazuki was thoughtful, smart, and she thought of a lot of things. From the Baiju who was killed by them, to what Zanyi mentioned when she was conducting human experiments, the role of Baiju's cells. Yue vaguely felt that she knew something, but after thinking about it, she didn't have any clues, so she simply didn't think about it. She just had to follow the footsteps of the person in front of her. Keep waiting, Kazu, there will be new news coming back from the east. For example, the death of the third generation of water shadows. Zanyi said something that Yue couldn't understand. That night, in the dead of night, Zanyi waited quietly. After a while, Baiju got out and looked at Zanyi with a strange smile. Yeah, you are ready, Madame Madara has already started to act. I want to inform you in advance. So, let's go. Before that guy is dead, I want to see him. Take this, go to Madara, and open it directly. Zanyi got up and handed Baiju a scroll directly. Really cautious. Baiju glanced at the scroll suspiciously, and then his body sank and began to move rapidly in the ground. Near Kanabi Bridge. In a huge underground cavity. Obito is trying to adjust to his new body. The original flesh and blood, combined and sewed up, looked like patches of white body tissue. Oh, you're practicing again. If you have time, why don't you tell me more about what it feels like to be sensible? Shut up, Faye, you don't understand at all. I want to get back to health as soon as possible, and then go to Lin and Kakashi, they need me. Obito gritted his teeth and did push-ups with difficulty. From the corner of his eye, he looked at the old man in the distance. Getting along these days has made him familiar with this old man, but I don't know if it is an illusion. In Obito's subconscious, he always feels that this old man gives him a familiar feeling. Maybe it's because of the same family. The rough-hearted Obito couldn't think of more. In his heart, he was full of gratitude for this old man who claimed to be Madara Uchiha. At this time, Baiju came back. Madara, who was sleeping with her head down, finally raised her head at this moment. Are you here? What? Who's here? Obito looked suspiciously. Then, he saw Baiju open a scroll, and then, the spell set on the scroll started to activate, and Zanyi's figure slowly emerged. A voice that was very familiar to him sounded. Long time no see, Obito, you seem to be a stitcher now. In other words, everyone thought you were killed by the enemy, so sad. This outsider greeted Obito casually. Ah, damn Schwenny, I won't be killed by those Yanin. Obito, must. Zan, Schwenny, why are you here? Are you here to pick me up? Obito's eyes turned red all of a sudden, and when he was excited, his eyes were filled with tears. He was trapped here, desperate for a time. Unexpectedly, when he was most helpless, Zanyi actually found him. Ooh, it's great to see you. I'll tell you, there's a strange old grandfather over there. It's so scary, with a few pipes attached to his back and a sickle in his hand. Obito rushed over excitedly, hugged Zanyi, and babbled. After talking for a long time, he scratched his head blankly, feeling that something was wrong. How did you come here, or were you brought in by Ju? Do you know each other? Obito, you. Zanyi laughed dumbly, he was really a nervous guy, heartless. At this time, Ban said coldly, stop talking nonsense, kid, let's talk, you know what to say and what not to say. Of course, Madam Madara. Zanyi put his arms around Obito, who looked like a suture monster, and said with a smile. Chapter 92_Kakudo, Good Guy. 10 out of 10 is the addition of the leader of the important things again and again. Zanyi took a closer look, Obito's two eyes were intact. He glanced meaningfully at Madara. The two eyes are intact with soil. If the kaleidoscope is opened, how terrifying it will be. I've been waiting for you, and decades ago, you didn't even have the qualifications to stand in front of me. The writing wheel eyes in Spot's eyes exude terrifying pupil power, which is extremely oppressive. Zanyi said calmly, Lord Ban, times have changed. In order to achieve permanent peace, you need a new generation like me. Babe snorted coldly. Obito was completely confused and looked at the two in confusion. The two of them actually know each other. When did this happen? Obito, there are some things you don't understand yet. Don't ask more, I won't hurt you. Everything I do is to end this chaotic dispute in the ninja world and achieve peace. Zanyi looked solemn. At least, when he said this, he was sincere. End this bad world. Ban looked at Zanyi indifferently. Tell me what you think. The Uchiha family has a forbidden technique called Izanagi. If you can find a way to use this forbidden technique without damage, it may be a good idea to correct this chaotic real world. Zanyi said. Madara's expression changed. Infinite Izanagi. Although it is unrealistic, it is a method. It does not change people's hearts, but only corrects the reality, and cannot achieve permanent peace. Kid, I now reluctantly believe that you are really here for peace. Infinite Izanagi is indeed a plan Madara never thought of, but the difficulty of execution is also countless times higher than that of Infinite Moon. Do we need to revise the reality countless times, change the tragedies that have occurred, change the thoughts that have just fallen, so that all changes in this world will always be defined in the category of truth, goodness and beauty? A slight deviation from this category is immediately corrected. Interesting indeed. This made Madara slightly improve her evaluation of Zanyi. At least, this is a guy who has done some research on how to achieve permanent peace. Understood, you can go back, and Obito will tell you about the future. Madara said. Zanyi smiled and nodded. The next moment, his avatar was about to leave. Wait, what am I going to tell him? No matter, Zanyi, take me away, I'm going to help Lin. Obito said excitedly. No, Obito, your current body is too bad. Even if you go back to them, it's just a burden. Zanyi shook his head and left the underground void. Before leaving, he took a serious look at the huge outsider golem. Interesting avatars, to some extent, are somewhat similar to the Baiju I made. Spot nodded. Such a kid is indeed qualified to join his plan. Of course, joining as an assistant, only Obito as the successor Madara looks at. When necessary, it can be thrown away without hesitation. Some distance away from Konoha village. A sneaky figure has been squatting here for a week. As the top bounty hunter in the ninja world, Kakuto's patience is beyond imagination. Someone passed by again. Unfortunately, it's still not that guy. Corners are a little disappointed. When will the kid leave the village? It stands to reason that this is one of the main roads leading directly to the west line of Konoha village, and the probability of encountering the kid will be higher. Just thinking about the amount of reward offered by the major ninja villages to this kid, Zhao was excited. 60 million too. I just can't imagine that this is not an old ninja, but a new generation kid. The major ninja villages actually offered a reward of 60 million taels. Zhao felt a burst of excitement when he remembered the huge number. So, he spent a week eating dirt in this ghost place, dedicated to squatting. Waited for a long time. Finally, his body moved, and he felt that something was invading, attacking the cells on his 5 hearts. It's actually him. The corners were very excited. Without saying a word, he started to undress. After all, this dress also costs money, and no one will reimburse it if it is torn. He was returning to the vicinity of Konoha and was planning to find a secret place to destroy himself. Xuanyi's clone suddenly stopped and sensed a certain guy. Who could it be? With 5 cores absorbing radiation, Zhao. Zanyi looked strange. He really did not expect that this guy would be so courageous to squat in such a place. In order to make money, the corners are also working hard and have pursuits. Zanyi pondered for a while and approached quietly. HMPH, don't hide, I have discovered you, my body is very sensitive to all invading forces. Zhao sneered, the 4 hearts behind him immediately flew out, and black silk spit out from his mouth. He wants to fight quickly, take this kid's head and retreat immediately. Wait, are you hiring a killer? It's just for money, I have money. Zanyi immediately shouted. Oh, my fee is very expensive. Zhao really stopped. I also have a lot of money. If I give you money, what can you do for me? Zanyi said. Everything, as long as the money is in place, I can even kill Naruto. Back then, when I fought against the man who was called the god of ninjas, I didn't have any hesitation. A battle between me and him shook the ninja world. Quote. The corners sneered. Quote. Really, I actually fought against the first generation of adults, and still survived to this day. It's amazing, I decided to use all my wealth to hire you. HMPH, a wise choice, let's say it first, I am very trustworthy, as long as you give enough money, I can do anything. In other words, how much can you pay? I can pay 10 million to hire you. 10 million, it's not bad. I'll slaughter this kid later and go to the bounty office for the 60 million bounty. He. Corners are very satisfied. Tell me, kid, what do you want to hire me to do? Kill the 3 generations of Hokage. If it involves the quest of the shadow, 10 million is too little, and you have to pay more. Zanyi pondered for a while, can you really do anything? Of course, I'm the man who fought against Hashiramama, and I absolutely keep my promises. Then, the task I issued is, give you 10 million, and you have to give me back 20 million. Quote. Zhao looked confused, as if he had opened the door to a new world. Can this be done? Little devil, you dare to fool me and delay time. Even if the 3 generations of Hokage come to save you, you have to die. Zhao was furious and made a bold move. In just a few rounds, he cut off Zanyi's head with a swipe. Quote. HMPH, after all, it's just a new generation. Even if it has a powerful blood succession ability, it is so vulnerable in the face of my attack. This money is really good. Zhao held Zanyi's head, checked it carefully, and determined that it was a real head, with a very distinct texture of flesh and blood. He immediately carried this head happily and ran to the nearest bounty in the country of fire. Chapter 93 _ The Light of Rebellion, Will I Lose My Job? After the angles are all gone. The decapitated corpse squirmed for a while, and the severed head grew out again. Zanyi looked at the disappearing figure and fell into contemplation. This guy, Jiaodu, is miserable. He has almost foreseen the end of Jiaodu, and at the same time, he is also keenly aware of a certain way to make money. Is my head so popular now? Zanyi couldn't help touching his neck and fell into thought again. The underground bounty institutes are institutions that spread throughout the ninja world. No one knows who established these bounty institutes in the first place, and how they did it. Most of the bounty institutes in the whole ninja world can achieve information exchange. Not to mention, you can take tasks in one bounty office, and you can go to another bounty office to collect commissions. The largest chain store in the ninja world. At this time, the number 3 bounty office of the Kingdom of Fire. Whoa! Jiaodu pushed the door open and walked into the underground bounty indifferently. Ah, isn't this Kaoru-sama? It seems to be a failure. That kid is a guy who can hurt the 3-tailed person Zuri, and is closely protected by Konoha. It is difficult to kill. Shut up, as long as I take action, there is no mission that cannot be accomplished. Jiaodu sneered, and the icy aura spread all over his body, but for some reason, the more powerful and domineering he was, the more confident he felt. Snapped. Swish. Jiaodu took out a scroll, pulled it straight away, slapped it with his hand, and immediately lifted a head out. Look, it's just a new generation kid who relies on forbidden techniques. No matter how strong he is, facing me, a man who has played against the first generation Hokage, is extremely weak. The corners sneered again and again. The person in charge of the bounty office was stunned at the time, looked at the head in astonishment, immediately put on a serious look, and conducted a careful inspection. It is indeed a real head. As expected of Lord Jiaodu, you actually killed this kid, but unfortunately it only has a head and no body. In that case, I will settle the bounty for you. Is that kid's body valuable too? Jiaodu frowned. Of course, many people are very interested in that kid's bloodline limit and want to study his bloodline gene. It is said that Wuyin village recently added another 30 million taels of bounty. First settle the 60 million for me, and I'll go and bring back that kid's corpse. Jiaodu pinched his fingers and made a profit of 30 million less. Rounding up is a small goal. Suddenly, all 5 hearts were aching. 60 million in hand. Jiaodu carried 2 large boxes, turned around and left, leaving in a hurry. Kakato-sama is really hard-working. The person in charge of the number 3 Bounty Institute sighed with emotion, and immediately inspected the head happily, intending to find a scroll to seal it. But when he took the scroll and turned back, he was stunned. Brain is gone. Where's the head? Person in charge was shocked. How could such a great head disappear as soon as he turned around? This is a head worth 60 million. After careful inspection, he confirmed that Zanyi's head was indeed gone, and his face turned ashen. The loss of 60 million must be filled with his life. Damn, could it be Jiaodu? It must be him. How could he do such a thing? The person in charge grabbed the last straw and gritted his teeth. I don't talk about business ethics in business, and I walked away with a bounty of 60 million taels. Outside bounty number 3. This is the number 3 bounty place. When I go back, I will go to get some information and write down all the locations of the bounty places. Zanyi looked up and saw that he had found a way to make a fortune. A way to quickly raise funds and build your own secret base without doing tasks and relying on routes. For many things in the future, he has to avoid the route, and the plan to build a secret base must be put on the agenda. If you don't say anything else, just plan Tensei's plan, and you must never let outsiders know. After walking far away, Zanyi's clone, which was proliferated from a head, immediately found a secret place to make sure that there was no one around, let alone Baiju's surveillance. A fire escape technique ignited the open space, and the clone jumped directly into it, and then began to decompose until the last cell was killed. At this time, Jiaodu didn't know what happened. He hurriedly returned to the place where Zhan Yi was hunted and found that the corpse was gone, and immediately beat his chest. Damn it, when you do tasks in the future, you must take away all the corpses, not just the head. The corners are clutching their chests, and it is extremely painful. But now he doesn't know what terrible things are waiting for him. Zhan Yi immediately got the relevant information about the bounty from the route, and found that there are 4 underground bounty houses in the country of fire alone. He wrote down the specific locations of the 4 bounty centers and how to open them. This time, I have to cool down the underground world of the Land of Fire. Zhan Yi immediately began to create his own clone as a corpse, then separated multiple clones, put on the mask of Root, and immediately dispatched. Start running to various bounty offices. After arriving outside the bounty, these clones immediately used the transformation technique. Boom! Transformed into a corner. Immediately, he pushed open the door of the bounty office with a cold face and shouted, "I'm here to hand in the mission." Many bounty hunters who were also in the Bounty Institute frowned and glanced at this moment, and their expressions changed drastically. What a strong momentum! This kind of domineering and confident style. Could it be the one in the legend? Many hunters' faces changed drastically, and they subconsciously moved away. Hey, with this kind of clothing and appearance, could it be the famous Kodo-sama in the underground world? This is the first time you have come to our number 2 bounty house. I'm the man who fought against the first Hokage, and I can go wherever I want in the entire ninja world. Jiaodu snorted coldly, seeming to be extremely impatient. This opening immediately made the other party's heart settled, and the possibility that he felt that it was Jiaodu himself increased to 70 to 80%. Only Kodo can speak like that. Jiaodu directly placed Zhan Yi's body on top, causing bursts of exclamations. This is actually the complete corpse of Konoha's strongest genius. Kodo-sama is indeed the strongest bounty hunter. After the other party checked, they readily took the money. 3 large boxes, 90 million taels. Regarding that kid's bounty quest, remember to tell the major shinobi villages that it was all completed by me. I don't want to see trash fish taking on this quest again. That's insulting me. Jiaodu spoke indifferently. Of course, Lord Kakato, don't worry, in a few days at most, the entire ninja world will know that you killed Shiranui Shueni. Well, that's about the same. How many days? Jiaodu estimated the time, carried 3 large boxes, and nodded in satisfaction. This kind of strength, the other bounty hunters who were shocked and awestruck simply do not dare to move. No matter how greedy they are, they do not dare to shoot in the opposite direction. After all, this is the man who can fight the first Hokage. Similar things continue to happen in the 4 bounty offices in the country of fire. During the Third World War, the exchange of information was not as smooth as that of Blizzard or even Boran Chuan. Not to mention, the underground bounty office is secretive, it is a hidden area, and ordinary communication is difficult to keep secret. It is still necessary to transmit information through ninjutsu or psychic beasts. This gave Zhan Yi a chance, and several clones ran around, frantically licking wool. The 3 bounty offices have collected 270 million. Less than 300 million, it's still not very safe. So, it didn't take long. In addition to the number 3 bounty office, the heads of the other 3 bounty offices were surprised to find that Lord Jiaodu came to the door again. When I was passing by the battlefield, I accidentally cut off Lois's head. How much is the oil girl Jiwei in Konoha village worth? HMPH. Sandren's Yikang is nothing more than that. I didn't take off my clothes, and she was defeated. The name of Jiaodu shocked the entire underground world of the country of fire. Countless bounty hunters quietly passed on the name of Jiaodu, and the words were full of shock and admiration. As expected of a great man who played against the first Hokage. The person in charge of the number 4 bounty office respectfully handed over the money and said with a wry smile, "Lord Jiaodu, the reserves of our bounty institute are limited. I didn't expect to be hollowed out by you alone. It's long-winded, then you can apply more to the top in the future." Yes, Mr. Jiaodu walked slowly. It didn't take long for the heads of these bounty offices to find out in anger that the bodies in their hands were gone. Literally, it disappeared inexplicably. Without the corpse, they would not be able to explain to the gold owner, and there would be no commission, and they would have to bear all the losses themselves. At this time, the warning from the number 3 bounty hunter was long overdue. The person in charge of number 3 told them that Jiaodu was a liar, and he wanted to do a one-shot deal. Soon after, 3 of the 4 major bounty firms declared bankruptcy. When the real Kokoto stepped into the gate of the bounty again with the corpses of a few rebels that he killed casually. HMPH, I don't know why, but I hear people muttering my name of Jiaodu everywhere. Jiaodu dragged a few corpses in one hand and pushed open the door of the bounty house with a sneer. Seriously, these people are so annoying. Touting will only delay the speed of my earning money. The only remaining person in charge of the number 3 bounty office is struggling to operate, and his mind is full of thoughts on how to fill the deficit, turn losses into profits, and avoid being killed. The moment he saw Jiaodu, his eyes turned red. "Nima refund money." The alarm sounded directly. "What's the matter, this siren? Has the bounty been besieged by the country of fire? I can take action, as long as the money is in place." Jiaodu directly threw the corpse over, signaling to pay quickly. Although there are only a few million taels, he has always been diligent and thrifty and does not dislike the lack of money. "Jiaodu, enough. So you are such a person. From now on, you have been blacklisted by all bounties, and you will pay the price." The person in charge of number 3 roared with red eyes, and then with a bang, he dismissed the shadow clone, the main body hid in the distance, and ran away in a panic. Blacklist. I don't know what happened, but if it really meant it literally. Could it be that I'm going to lose my job? Chapter 94_Dual Kamui and Void. Madara stood in the dark underground cavity, listening to the news of the ninja world brought back by Baiju. A large number of bounty offices in the Land of Fire have closed down. The mysterious powerhouses are all helping justice. The light of betrayal and forbearance, the number 1 mortal enemy in the underground world. Madara muttered the name of Kokoto, as if she had heard this name somewhere. Oh, I remembered. It seems that the guy from Taki Ninja Village threw a shuriken towards Hasuma from a distance. It's just a small character that's not worth mentioning. More importantly, as expected, he still found a way to guide Obito's blackening and embark on the path he wanted to take. The people who Obito recognizes are nothing more than Lin, Kakashi and Schwenny. It just so happens that the chess piece of the 3rd generation of Water Shadows has been abolished. Originally, I planned to use the last value of this chess piece, control him to transplant the tailed beast, and let Kakashi and Lin kill each other. But if there's a kid like Zanyi, it's better to start with Zanyi. Spot closed his eyes slowly. Best friend, this ridiculous thing is, after all, part of this false world. Baiju glanced at Obito, who was frantically training in the distance, and whispered, "Then what are you going to do? Let Zanyi kill Lin and Kakashi?" "No, Schwenny is a barely qualified tool. His strength and will can be used, and it would be a pity for the two of them to turn against each other." When Madara opened her eyes again, she revealed a deep indifference. "Then, tell him the truth, this world full of lies and deceit. It's not worth nostalgic at all. Zanyi will also understand what to do." The 3-hooked jade in Ban's eyes exudes a strange red light. He called Obito over. "What, you said they've been cheating on me all the time. They never cared about me. What a joke." Of course Obito didn't believe it. That's why it is said that the world is false. Deception and lies have led to estrangement. Estrangement has led to war, and war has destroyed everything, and has spawned new deceptions and lies. Madara said indifferently, You have already noticed that the guy who is praised by everyone, Shiranui Shueni, who is known as the inheritor of the Will of Fire, has long been out of the Will of Fire in secret. To him, you are nothing but a fool. It's just a passerby, not worth his time. Obito was about to refute, but suddenly fell silent. He remembered the discussion between Zanyi and Bei Liuhu at the beginning, and then remembered it again. Zanyi came to discuss with this guy who claimed to be Madara. Mouth full of falsehood and peace. No, it won't be like this. That's the truth. Your best friend is just using you as a tool. If you don't believe it, look at this. Konoha. Zanyi also found out some information in the Country of Fire, and with 500 million taels of funds, he was going to find an opportunity to build a secret base. The construction of the base itself is simple, and the various facilities and instruments in the troublesome base are the most cost-effective. Jiaodu is indeed a good man. Zanyi sighed with emotion. He arranged for a clone to store a huge amount of money when he walked out of the house. Heard the news of Kakashi and Rin returning to Konoha. Kakashi, I heard about Obito. Zanyi greeted Kakashi. Well, casualties on the battlefield are inevitable. Kakashi's face was cold, and the whole person seemed to be frozen. Kakashi. Lin looked at Kakashi worriedly. In the past, the seeds that Zanyi had planted had already broken through the ground at this moment. Because of sadness in the heart, but showing sadness is not in line with my will and positioning, so I deliberately let myself slip into the cold abyss. Zanyi glanced at Kakashi. If Obito saw this scene, I don't know what to think. Find that the world is not worth it, and blacken it on the spot. Lin, you have to be prepared. You should know that this war has already killed too many people. Not only Obito, but even ourselves, we must be prepared to die. Kakashi spoke coldly. I've made up my mind, I'll help you seriously. Lin lowered her head. Kakashi looked at Zanyi. Zanyi, is there something you haven't completed? No, but is it really okay for you to be in this state? I'm fine, beyond imagination, and it feels like a drag has been removed. Kakashi, in the extreme state of losing his father, has once again advanced to a deeper level. After Kakashi and Lin left. Why, how could this be? In the shop by the road, a man in a black robe with his back to the street was trembling all over. Zanyi walked directly into the shop, sat beside the man in black robe casually, raised his hand and ordered some food from the shop. Obito, when did you come back? It seems that you've been doing pretty well since the last time we parted. Zanyi sat opposite Obito and looked at the guy with his head buried deep in front of him. When Obito raised his head, he revealed a swirling head under the black robe. What was even more striking were the two blood-red eyes that were shedding tears under the vortex helmet. He suddenly got up, lowered his head, and quickly walked out of the store. Shueni followed all the way, and the two came all the way to the tomb area of the Uchiha family. Zanyi, is this true? My death has no value to you at all. Obito stood in front of a tombstone, trembling all over. A deep madness is growing. If it is true to a certain extent, anyone in this world can die, even if it is the child of destiny, as long as it is used up, he has no value. Zanyi looked at Obito very seriously. The protagonist of a storybook, no matter how smooth and strong he is, his fate will end at the moment the story ends. Including Kakashi and Rin. It can be said that, including Kakashi and Lin, you heard what they said just now. What about you? You pretended so desperately that you deceived everyone, including me. Don't wait for him to finish. Zanyi snapped his fingers first. Looks like Madara told you a lot about me. Yes, everything I do is to bring peace to this world. Too bad, isn't it? You've been on the battlefield too, watching those innocent civilians, children who have lost their parents. This is all wrong and needs to be corrected. The Will of Fire. What kind of bullshit Will of Fire, Obito, would you believe it? Do you still believe in that kind of thing now? Zanyi chuckled, and it was this laughter that greatly stimulated Obito. No, in Obito's eyes, the ominous pupil power became more and more crazy. He trembled and pointed to the tombstone in front of him, and he didn't speak for a long time. Then here, can't it be a scam? My grandma, you and I took care of the grandma for 2 years. She regards you as her own grandson and keeps praising you in front of me. Is this also fake? Quote. Zanyi looked at the current Obito and thought quickly. Madara cast a magic spell on him to stimulate emotions. Or just verbal stimulation. Quote. Originally, I never planned to tell you in my life, because this reality is too cruel to accept. Zanyi squatted down slowly, directly began to dig the tombstone, and dug out a coffin. Click. Open the coffin. Obito's only relative was lying peacefully in the coffin, as if he had fallen asleep, but that was the most abnormal. The corpse was supposed to decompose. Zanyi raised his hand directly, and a beam of radiation hit the corpse. The next moment, the corpse immediately moved, and after a while of twisting, it turned into Baiju. Hey, don't use your power to affect me, it's very painful. Baiju wailed and kept squirming. Boom. Obito was completely stupid, like a thunderbolt, stunned in place, the whole world seemed to collapse. My grandma, how could it be Baiju? You have never had a grandmother, Obito, you have only Baiju. Zanyi replied, your only close relative is fake, and the old man you help cross the road every day is also fake and doesn't exist at all. Your friends, the objects of your admiration, are all disguised and false. Shweni Bloody revealed, in this world, there is only one thing that is really hungry, and that is to eliminate all these false goals, and only this one will never go wrong. Ooh. Obito hugged and cried. Ah-Fei, who was attached to him, also remained silent at this time. The Guyu in his eyes, at this moment, gathers crazily, his almost broken spiritual world, at this moment, in the frantic tearing apart, there is only one thought. Escape this world full of falsehoods and lies. Everything is fake, relatives, friends, lovers, all fake. The terrifying pupil power exudes a strong ominousness, constantly erupting, and a pair of kaleidoscope eyes are formed at this moment. This is what Madara wants you to do, and it's what I want to do. Everything outside is not important, only the ultimate goal is eternal. Obito, you have grown. Zanyi directly killed the Baiju in front of him, and then buried the coffin in the soil again. Boom. A huge skeleton suddenly attacked and grabbed Zanyi. Boom. Zanyi directly raised his hand, instantly entered Godzilla mode, and blocked Susanoo with one hand. He looked at the blue Susanoo that wrapped Obito and said, Obito, calm down, I don't owe you anything, there's no need to treat me like this. You should have told me the truth sooner. Obito's eyes were full of bloodshot eyes, and the pupil power of the pair of kaleidoscope writing wheel eyes was surging all the time. Then, I told you the truth, what can you do? At that time, you were so nervous, you didn't care about anything, and you were weak, so what could you do? Zanyi sighed and looked at Obito in front of him with pity. Madara asked you to return to Konoha, and asked you to come to me, just to let you know the truth, so that you can help him desperately. I'm different. Everything I do from start to finish, I do it with my own power. Quote. Quote. Obito slowly took back Susanoo without saying a word. He didn't know what to say, hated Zanyi. Hate Spots. Hate Kakashi and Rin. It's all ridiculous, so childish. Obito remembered that in the past, Zanyi had said more than once that his dream was to bring permanent peace to this chaotic world. Peace, or forever. Now it seems that the fool who has been kept in the dark is really himself. I see, what are you going to do? Rely on the will of fire to achieve permanent peace. Obito sneered. The tears in his eyes couldn't be restrained at all and kept flowing. Well, it depends on what Madara does. He is a character from the first generation. He must have a detailed plan in his life. Zanyi spread his hands and looked at Obito with pity. Obito gritted his teeth, and his entire body turned into a vortex and disappeared in place. The whole process took less than a second. The power of the dual gods is truly astonishing. Zanyi carefully corrected the tombstone and restrained Baiju's body. After finishing all this, he looked up at the sky and glanced at the boundless sky. Outside the starry sky, there are a lot of troublesome guys staring here. Although I don't know if Madara will revise her plan, whether it's infinite monthly reading, or any other plan, collecting tailed beasts and putting together 10 tails is a must. Zanyi watched for a while. At this moment, the wheel of fate began to spin, and it was about to crush all the old. Not to mention, there is also him, who has planet-level plants in his body, and is promoting all this by his own means. A few days later, he heard the news that Kakashi and Rin went to the battlefield again, and also saw Obito again. In the dead of night, inside the house, Obito was looking at Zanyi. "Get ready, let's go to the land of rain, Madara that guy." "No, it's me, Madara Uchiha, have already prepared everything." The eyes behind the mask are surging with endless malice. Uchiha, Madara. It seems that Madara is dead, which is really interesting. Zanyi picked up a dark red robe that had already been prepared. On the side, half black and half white Ju also burst into strange laughter at this time. "Meet again, I didn't expect that we would join forces one day. Introduce my other half, Heiju." Baiju strangely smiled, while Heiju remained silent. "It doesn't matter, I don't care at all. The relationship between the three of us is essentially mutual use. If we really want to subdivide, I and Obito are obviously closer. You are the most unreliable guy." "Oh, what a cold-blooded guy, it's really embarrassing to talk about, are you right, Heiju?" Baiju smiled strangely. Heiju said indifferently, "What he said is not wrong. The three of us came together for the same goal. To a certain extent, this is the strongest and most reliable relationship." Xuanyi made a seal and created a special nuclear escape clone, and put the dark red robe, which was too wide and abnormal, directly on the clone. Then, the clone immediately wriggled, the face changed, and the body below the face began to shrink, and finally turned into a weird thing. Zanyi raised his hand and placed a white grimace mask with a scar on it. It was matched with the dark red robe that was too wide to cover the body completely. This avatar looks like an indescribable thing composed of a grimace mask and a robe. No body, no limbs, just a grimace mask and a wide robe. Just like the monsters that appear in some folk ghost stories. I also have to arrange a fake identity so that I can move easily. The clone spoke slowly, tilting his head and thinking. Then my new name is Shu. Unexpectedly, the average booking exceeded 3,000, which is a big surprise. Thank you all for your hard work. Konoha Godzilla Exchange Group. Just built, interested book lovers can add it tilde. Chapter 95-Nagato. Who is Shu? A group of 3 people passed through the rich and lush forest of the Land of Fire, and appeared in the Land of Rain with the technique of time and space with soil. To tell the truth, Zanyi was envious of this ability, it was so convenient. This is a country of weeping, and the closer you get, the more frightened the pouring rain will drown everything. Obito, what are you going to do after seeing that guy? Join the Akatsuki organization directly. Halfway through, Heiju spoke in a hoarse voice. With the blood-red eyes under the earth mask, he glanced at Heiju indifferently, and there was a look of resentment and jealousy in his eyes. In the way you did with me, it's easy to control him by twisting his mind first. The 3-hook jade in Obito's eyes gradually changed into 3 straight hooks. If the samsara eye is to be controlled in our hands no matter what, this is a weapon that is convenient for us to capture the tailed beast. Heiju, samsara eye. It seems that Madara said a lot of interesting things to you when I was away. Alias was, Shu, looked like a living mask, dragging his black robe to move. Without a body, the only entity is the mask itself. When you see our goal, you will understand. The Eye of Reincarnation is the end of the evolution of Sharingan. It is the second pair of supreme eyes after the Six Path Immortals. Now it has been transplanted to a Vortex clan. Only when facing Zanyi, Obito would not be so impatient, and it was difficult to say a few more words. Heiju and Baiju both tightly closed their mouths. Especially Heiju, who has always been silently observing Zanyi. There is a question that he has never solved. Zanyi, the bloodline awakened in his body, is it from Yuya's bloodline or Yumura's bloodline? Mother is a ninja world who came from an alien planet. She can survive in a dangerous place like the universe. I don't know that Huo Xuanyi must have the blood of her mother. Heiju thought silently. Although he never left the ninja world in his life. And the associated giant beast in Xuanyi's body. Does such a thing really exist in the world? Two-sided. A group of 3 people, in silence, entered the land of rain. Baiju had already found out the coordinates of the Shao organization's base camp. When the Yahiko trio were discussing to launch an action and find a way to get more food. Who? Nagato turned his head abruptly, and the samsara eyes in his eye sockets immediately saw through all the barriers and locked the uninvited guests. Under the pouring rain. Yahiko, Nagato, and Konan immediately stopped and prepared for battle. Nagato, which village's ninja is the enemy, Konoha? Or Iwa Shinobu or Sand Shinobi? Yahiko asked in a low voice. No, I can't be sure, these 3 people are very strange, and the chakra on my body gives me a very uneasy feeling. Nagato whispered. Yahiko's face froze, and he secretly said something bad. Nagato has the eyes of an immortal, which can make him feel uneasy. Who would the enemy be? Why would such a strong man find them? At this time, 3 figures slowly appeared in front of the 3 of Yahiko. Finally meet. Obito appears out of thin air in the form of a vortex. Ju is like a plant, drilling out from the ground. And Zanyi, wearing an incomparably large black robe, swayed and grew out of the ground little by little. It really grew, except for the clothes and masks, everything else grew little by little. This way of appearing is completely incomprehensible, and at first glance it is a big guy. The 3 of Yahiko were shocked at the time. I don't know what the 3 of you need our help with. Yahiko took a step forward, and while being alert, he tried to be as polite as possible. But Obito didn't even bother to look at him, he looked directly at Nagato behind Yahiko. It's very painful, isn't it? The descendants of the 6 Path Immortals. Obito said indifferently. Quote ? What, you are coming for Nagato? The faces of the 3 of Yahiko changed greatly. Obito said indifferently. Don't try to cover it up, those eyes can't deceive people. Since the immortal eyes of the 6 paths appeared, the owner has been born with a great mission to bring peace to this chaotic and wrong world. Major mission, peace. Nagato subconsciously touched his eyes, and for the first time since he had these eyes, someone clearly told him what to do. Even Jiraiya never told him that. 3 strange guys came to us directly, and then said something even more strange. Who are you? Yahiko directly interrupted Nagato's thoughts. Obito slowly raised his head, the light from the pair of riding wheel eyes penetrated the pouring rain. You should have heard of my name is Uchiha Madara. I'm Ju, I'm very good at reconnaissance. In my case, you can call me Shu, I'm the best at watching the fun. Quote ? Quote ... Whoa. The heavy rain fell, dipping the hole into a blurred shape, as if there were only 6 confrontational figures left between the heaven and the earth. For a time, everyone suddenly didn't know what to say, and a certain atmosphere was abruptly interrupted. Finally, Xiaonan couldn't help but say, if Madara Uchiha, that one should have died a long time ago. At the beginning, I was seriously injured in the battle with Chinchujuma, and my body has not recovered until now. Of course, this is not important. The important thing is that you, Nagato, have the eyes of a fairy, you have these eyes the power of yours, but also to shoulder your mission. Quote. Obito said immediately, and at the same time extended his hand towards Nagato. Nagato, follow me, with your eyes, see through this chaotic world, and see the road to the future. If it is you, I will definitely be able to do it, and I will lead you to the other side of peace, blocking my name as Madara Uchiha. Quote. The Sengo jade in Obito's eyes continued to spin at an accelerated rate, brewing terrifying pupil power. This also stimulated Nagato's Samsara eye, and a force above the kaleidoscope was surging. Yahiko. Nagato hesitated and looked at Yahiko. Yahiko sneered. Enough, you three, we don't trust you at all, you don't have a word of truth in your mouth, please leave. A hint of coldness flashed in Obito's eyes. He was obviously about to move Nagato. If I don't leave, a guy like you, self-righteous, hiding in a small place like the Land of Rain, blindly arrogant, and ignorant of the despair and mourning of the entire ninja world. Obito said coldly. Yahiko slowly took off his hood. Then there is no way, even if I do it, I can't give Nagato to you. Baiju called out at this time. Hey, Mr. Ban, is this really okay? You have to fight with the owner of the fairy eye. No matter how you look at it, we will be in trouble here. You are seriously injured, you are not good at it. I am fighting, I look more empty than anyone else. Quote. Be careful, I'll kill you. Hey Ju, I'll find a chance to kill your other half, and then put on a new Baiju, should it be okay? I saw the white mask shaking his head. It's okay, whatever you want. Heiju said indifferently. Baiju immediately closed his mouth tightly. He couldn't die, he was the first Baiju, the body, and was completely different from other mass-produced Bais. He can see that his status is the lowest, not one of them. Even the newcomer Zanyi could kill him casually. Obito became more and more irritable, and the sense of coldness began to permeate. Xiaonan, do it, kill that Shu first. Yahiko shouted loudly. Paper escape shuriken technique. A dozen or so paper shurikens flew out densely, and rushed towards the thinnest-looking void. I was underestimated, Zanyi said softly. The next moment, he was submerged by a large pile of paper shuriken, and his entire body was pierced one after another. Fixed one first, the guy who calls himself Madara, your subordinates are a little weak. Xiaonan said solemnly. No, be careful, Xiaonan, that guy is very dangerous. Nagato was the first to sense something was wrong. I saw that the figure that was penetrated by countless paper shuriken suddenly stood up again. This dress is torn. Shall organization remember to pay me a dress? Zanyi spoke nonchalantly. Nagato's eyes widened, staring at him in astonishment. All the places where the paper shuriken was pierced, that part of the body seemed to disappear out of thin air. What's going on? It's not an illusion. The scene in front of him somewhat subverted the three views of Nagato's three people. Give it up, if you really want to use force, the three of you together can't kill me, believe me. Even if you have fairy eyes. Zanyi's voice was very calm from beginning to end. The technique he showed was similar to blurring, and he also successfully attracted the attention of Ju and Obito. So, Obito glanced at it and quickly understood. The ability to evade the paper shuriken is, in essence, an ability to control the flesh and blood of the whole body, multiply and shrink the flesh and blood in a specific location, and avoid attacks. Moreover, Zanyi did not restore the intentionally shrunk flesh and blood after getting up. This made Yahiko and others who did not know the reason to see that the tattered black robe was full of holes, but through the holes, all they could see was air, no physical body or flesh. It was as if this white masked man was really a ghost in a black robe. Even if the black robe was torn off, he had no real body. By the way, aren't you tired? Raushi Obito's mood changed drastically, and he couldn't help but complain at this moment. The rain was mixed with the strong wind, constantly shaking the tattered black robe. This guy, Zanyi, actually calculated the movement trajectory of the black robe, constantly adjusting the flesh and blood of his body. So that outsiders can see through the hole in the black robe, the entity can never be seen. A truly dedicated ghost. You don't understand, Madara. Zanyi shook his head. Shu is the vest he used to steal tailed beasts and frantically pluck 10-tailed wool in Xiao's organization. Even after the Godzilla version of Mudden is developed in the future, he will be dedicated to the identity of controlling Mudden. If the identity of the virtual also has a Godzilla mode, it will emit a white-hot light at every turn, and raise a hand with a nuclear radiation. Everyone in the whole ninja world will know that Zanyi opened a trumpet. Shu, who the hell are you? I've never heard of someone like you in the ninja world. Nagato was extremely cautious and became more and more afraid. If the man in the vortex mask is Madara Uchiha, then you can treat a character like Madara with this attitude. Who is Fuhui? It's not like the original Hokage, which is outrageous. Forget it, you don't understand now, but you will understand in the future. Obito took a deep breath, suppressed the chill in his heart, and said indifferently, you are all too young, and your eyes are too narrow. It is a mistake to see the world yet. Sooner or later, Nagato, you will come to me begging. You will beg me and tell you what to do. Obito took a deep look at Nagato, and with this last glance, he directly opened the kaleidoscope and looked at the reincarnation. The result is obvious. In the pupil power competition, Obito failed to take advantage. What a pair of beautiful eyes, it would be a pity if it was just for viewing. Zanyi also said the same thing. The next moment, the three of them disappeared, leaving only the three of Yahiko looking at each other, standing in the heavy rain without speaking for a long time. ... Far away. Zanyi stopped and glanced at Obito. It seems that it's time for me to act. Obito, don't interfere, I will use my method to make Nagato really understand all this. Obito said, the eye of reincarnation is very important, whether it's Madara's infinite moon reading or your infinite Izanagi, you need to use the moon as a medium to cover the entire ninja world. And the one who can do it. Only Samsara Eye, Zanyi, you won't fail, right? Of course, there is no such thing as a rollover. To tell the truth, I admire Yahiko very much, and admire him very much, but as long as such an idealist lives, Nagato will never be able to give birth to his own independent will, and it will always be Yahiko. Accessories. Quote. Zanyi calmly said, so, leave it to me, when I return to the land of rain with the root ninja. Let Nagato feel the pain. Chapter 96_Transformation. Blood mixed with rain. Konoha. He is constantly sending clones to various regions of the fire country to find Shunny who is suitable for building a secret base. Received a message from a special clone. Really, I still have to take this step. I'm going to take the ninja of the route to the country of rain and meet Hanzo. Zanyi couldn't help shaking his head. Handily, put the sealing technique scroll in your hand on the shelf. It is better to become a high-level disciple. There are various advanced ninjutsu that are difficult for ordinary ninjas to obtain. There are as many as you want here. And it's almost as easy as learning. Even if you want to learn those forbidden techniques, or those that have been sealed in the sealed book, it is not impossible to find Danzo directly. Zanyi is seizing all the time and opportunities, madly sweeping away various techniques, absorbing a huge amount of knowledge like a sponge. The technique of shadow avatar is suitable for studying. Even if you are not proficient in many techniques, you must at least memorize them first. Zanyi raised his head, glanced at the scrolls arranged in front of him, turned around and walked out. The root ninja waiting outside silently knelt down on one knee. Zanyi walked out of the base of the root with a blank face, facing the rising sun outside, and without knowing it, he studied for another night. As the overall situation of the Eastern Front battlefield gradually stabilized, more and more ninjas began to withdraw in batches, adding more popularity to the village. Zanyi just walked the streets like this, which was one of his few pleasures. Uncle Shuda, have a bowl of the latest ramen. Zanyi walked into a store and put 100 taels on the table. Oh, guest, it's your first time to our store. We can give you a bowl. Do you need to pack the second bowl? Handbeat was very enthusiastic. No need, if it's 2 bowls, I'll try my best to be able to eat it. With this kind of discount, it's no wonder that business is booming. Zanyi put his arm on the table and smiled. Ha, business is not good now, and I also hope that this method can make more customers feel warm. Handbeat immediately rolled up his sleeves and started making ramen. Zanyi turned his head and glanced at it, and saw that, 2 seats away, there was a red-haired guy eating with his head down. As soon as the bowl was eaten up, the man immediately put the bowl on with a bang and shouted, "Hit by hand, another bowl." Zanyi remained calm and waited patiently, but out of the corner of his eye, he kept scanning. Sure enough, it was her. When I came in just now, I felt like Vortex, Kushina. The current 9-tailed Manzuri. If you can accidentally cut a few tails from the complete 9-tailed body. Huh. 9 tails, who was lying in Kushina's stomach, suddenly raised her head. With a strong sense of crisis, it suddenly felt a trace of unease. What's the matter with this feeling? An inexplicable feeling. It's like encountering something that poses a major threat to me. Kyubi became vigilant. The last time he felt this way, he was controlled by Madara's eyes and held down by a hand from Hashima. What's wrong, Kyubi? I'm just having a meal, do you want to make a fuss? Kushina was a little dissatisfied. No, idiot, I'm being watched. The guy next to you gives me a sense of danger. Dangerous. Kushina put down her chopsticks and glanced at Zanyi casually. She saw that Zanyi was taking over the ramen noodles he had beaten, and carefully picked a few sticks to taste. Hey, the taste of this side is really different, even the soup is delicious. Zanyi exclaimed. What, Kyubi, isn't this guy Shiranui Shweni, the rigid guy's disciple of Danzo? Although he and Jiraiya-sensei once defeated Sanwei, how could he threaten you? Kushina immediately patted her chest. Really, always listening to 9 tails talking nonsense makes her suspicious. Quote. 9 tails fell silent. Shiranui Shweni, from a small family that I haven't heard of. Without the bloodlines of Senju, Uchiha and Uzumaki, it is indeed not worth fearing, but what is this feeling? I don't know who Oshweni, but he is known as the strongest genius in Konoha's history. The 12-year-old special Junin, he fought against the tailed beast when he was almost 13 years old. I really don't know how much he will grow in the future. While speaking to Kyubi, Uzumaki Kushina looked at Shweni with great interest. I heard that his bloodline limit is created by making molecular level or even atomic level changes to generate huge lethality. Molecules. Atoms. I understand. That's how it is. If this technique is used, I will. Kyubi immediately understood, and with her head held high, she fell down again. HMPH, I don't know who Oshweni, but that's it. The technique it envisioned, burning its life to obtain a terrifying attack, was very similar to this little devil's technique. Because the danger of this technique is very high, and it's very close to the heavy particle model that I imagine that I haven't had time to perfect, that's why it arouses my attention. Kyubi snorted coldly and closed his eyes. When Kushina asked it again, it was too lazy to pay attention to Kushina. Outside world. Are you Shirai Shweni? I heard Minato mention you. Uzumaki Kushina pushed over a new bowl of ramen. Ah, are you, Kushina-senpai? Minato-senpai also often mentions you, but if you want to ramen, you don't have to. After 2 bowls, I'm already full. Zanyi smiled and got up, put the empty bowl in his hand on the table, got up, and left the store. What an unpleasant kid. Kushina shook her head and continued to bury her head in cooking. A few days later, Zanyi slowly put on a root mask. With a team of ninjas, a total of 7 people, ready to go. Iroha, I appointed you as vice captain. This time, something very interesting may happen. Look carefully with your eye. Zanyi looked at the person beside him. Yes, my lord. The man slowly raised his head, revealing his white right eye. Tensaizen and Samsara eye are the same level of eyes. It's not a bad thing to let Iroha spy on this level of power in advance. The group set off and quickly rushed to the land of rain. Zanyi went to this sad country again. From the country of fire to the country of rain, the more clearly the difference can be felt. The Western Front is still in a state of fierce war, and the land of rain is the battlefield of the three major powers. Over the past 4 years, I don't know how many people in the land of rain have died of starvation and disease. Although the Akatsuki organization is working hard in their own way, their strength is too weak. But even so, their existence has brought new hope to this desperate and mourning country. Even, to a certain extent, the prestige and influence of the Akatsuki organization in the country of rain began to shake the power and prestige of the leader of Yuyin village. Great, Hanzo-sama has given us a reply, and we can have peace talks. Yahiko held the letter in his hand excitedly, with great joy. In this way, peace will come. If Hanzo-sama takes the shot, then the three major powers will not dare to act rashly. Hanzo-sama's power plus the power of our Akatsuki organization. Many people were excited. No one noticed something was wrong. Because Hanzo is a powerful ninja who shakes the ninja world, there is really no need to deceive such a small organization. Rainy Village. Xiao's guys have already responded and will negotiate peace with us. Hanzo looked at the letter in his hand coldly, and let out a sneer. In this country, he is a supreme god, known as a demigod, and he has already stood in the first echelon of the ninja world in terms of strength. But it is also undeniable that he turned a blind eye and remained silent in the face of the fact that the three major ninja villages were raging in the country of rain. As early as during World War II, Hanzo had already deeply realized the cruelty of this world. The five great powers are the power to oppress everything. Even if he is a demigod, in front of the size of the five great powers, there are limits. Xiao organization. We should eliminate it as soon as possible, otherwise, after the war is over, these guys will not be easy to deal with. Hanzo burned the letter. At this time, a figure wearing a mask walked in. So, Hanzo-sama, we can act at any time. Danzo-sama is still waiting for my reply. The half-hidden figure disappeared instantly, and the next moment, he appeared beside Zanyi, and his slowly widened eyes were covered with bloodshot. Even if you are a subordinate of Danzo, don't get too carried away. This operation is mainly about me, and Danzo will not tell you this. Hanzo's voice was cold. Zanyi paused and said indifferently, of course, Lord Hanzo. The root guy, there's no emotion of fear, it's really boring. Hanzo snorted coldly, and immediately called the troops, preparing to go to the meeting place agreed with the Akatsuki organization. Zanyi looked at Hanzo's back, the eyes behind the mask exuded a cold line of sight. Hanzo no longer has the spirit and energy of the past, and the edges and corners have been smoothed by time and reality. This bad world, the ninja world full of tragedy, will always make more and more people fall into the endless abyss of despair. Even if he is as strong as Hanzo, he has to go with the flow. The intention of the Akatsuki organization is to lead to peace, but this is not the kind of peace I need. Zanyi followed Hanzo's footsteps. Yahiko, even if he doesn't die in my hands, he will definitely be killed by Obito. There is no doubt about that. Soon, it was the appointed time. Yahiko, Nagato, and Konan were standing at the appointed place. Swish. Several ninjas from Yuyin village suddenly attacked, and at the moment when the three of them relaxed, they kidnapped Xiao Nan directly. Xiao Nan, Lord Hanzo, what are you doing? Yahiko was extremely angry. Nagato's face changed drastically. He looked up at the ninjas standing on the cliff in all directions, and looked down at their ninjas. Yahiko. We have been surrounded, this is a trap. But why, what did we do wrong to be targeted by Hanzo? They also took Xiaonan. Damn. Yahiko gritted his teeth and clenched his fists tightly. They just want peace. Is it really that hard? At this time, among the many ninjas, Hanzo slowly revealed his figure and snorted coldly. Stupid guy, I see all your actions. If peace can be achieved in this way, then it would be hard to ignore this. The world looks so beautiful. Quote. Yahiko, Nagato, hurry up. Xiaonan screamed, and the next moment, he was punched by a ninja. No, I don't understand. Hanzo, we are working hard in my way, and we don't intend to hurt anyone, but why are you doing such a thing? Why are you destroying us? Yahiko roared angrily, like an angry lion. Let everyone understand each other. Let everyone help each other. Whether natural disasters or man-made disasters, all of us unite to face together. Then peace can come. There will be no war, no hunger, weak children will be looked after, and no one will be displaced. Yahiko trembled. This was the future he wanted to see. Whoa whoa whoa. The rain is getting heavier and heavier. No, the future you imagined cannot be realized. If peace is realized with sincerity and understanding between people, and lasts 1 or 2 generations at most, this false peace will disappear. At this time, Zanyi suddenly spoke. It will come true, this is my dream. If everyone can. I said, this is impossible. The eyes behind Xuanyi's mask looked down at Yahiko in a calm and terrifying state. Yahiko, right, even if there are more and more idealistic people like you, so what? All the children are taken care of, there is no disease, there is no hunger, but after all, there are 3, 6, 9 and so on. After a few years, there are talented and lucky people will get more resources, and their descendants will inherit the resources of their parents. From generation to generation, the monopoly of superiority will be born spontaneously. In the future world, the weak may not become strong, but the strong will certainly getting stronger and stronger naturally compresses the living space of other people. Quote. Injustice will cause dissatisfaction. Some people can learn advanced ninjutsu at will, and some people work hard and can only get some 3-body art to learn. If you want to get more, you have to fight with your life and become a chess piece and be sacrificed. This kind of world is the world you imagined. Even if everyone is fed and clothed, there will still be new needs, new forms of injustice and oppression, and injustice will lead to new and unprecedented dissatisfied. Xuanyi looked down at Yahiko from a height, and there was a trace of pity in his eyes. Idealist, still an idealist who has ideals but does not have enough strength, such a guy is the most regrettable. Even in his previous life, the theory is extremely developed, the education system is so fair and complete, the per capita quality and ideological cognition have beaten countless people in the ninja world, and people do not have the extraordinary power of chakra. Human beings can be at the level of life. Achieve equality. But such a world, peace, also relies on nuclear deterrence to achieve. Peace, from beginning to end, is based on absolute force. If you don't recognize this, you will go the wrong way from the beginning. Want to build a peaceful world with more idealists? This is no problem, provided that these idealists have the force to crush everything, such as the first Hokage. Moreover, the descendants of these idealists, the descendants of the descendants, and the descendants of the descendants of the descendants also possess super powerful force, and they are also idealists, and they are constant. As long as one person changes his mind in the middle, he has the force, status and power to crush everything, and he does not engage in idealism, then that monopoly that naturally oppresses others and cannot be broken is born. Madara Uchiha, a close friend of the first Hokage, just realized that peace cannot be achieved by people's self-consciousness or love, and parted ways with the first generation. The heir of the first Hokage is the second Hokage who is unwilling to trust others. The second Hokage is followed by the third Hokage. A person can control himself and keep his original intention, but he cannot control others, not even his own descendants. No, this kind of thing won't happen, this kind of thing. An unprecedented panic appeared on Yahiko's face, and something he had never thought of, or something he didn't dare to think about, was uncovered with blood. Damn, what about you? At least we are trying to do it. What are you guys doing, kidnapping my companions? Nagato yelled angrily. It was the first time he saw Yahiko in such a state. I am also doing it, and I have found a feasible method. There is no need to tell you these naive guys, especially Yahiko. He will never agree with my method. Zanyi coldly dropped these words, and then withdrew from the sight of Yahiko. He has been a human being in 2 lives, especially his previous life, was an extremely developed and equal world. He knew better than anyone how naive and unrealistic Yahiko's ideas were. Not to mention, in the ninja world, which has an extraordinary path and can open the gap from the level of life. The strong are immortal for thousands of years, relying on the flesh to traverse the universe, and the weak will die for decades. Such a world is even more unsuitable for Yahiko's set. Is the strong crazy to be equal to the weak? The weak will die of old age and illness if they live for decades. For the sake of fairness, wouldn't the strong also die along with them? That's fair, isn't it? That's the way to eliminate oppression and eliminate possible wars. But is this possible? The strong have also worked hard to gain strength and longevity, and improve the level of life. They don't owe anyone anything, so why should they play equality with the weak? Relying on mutual understanding between people is naturally not enough, but if it is relying on a core of power that has a coercive power over everything, forcibly suppressing all disobedience, cutting off all greed and the way forward from the root, forcing everyone to survive on this power. If this power goes wrong, everyone will die. Moreover, this power itself has its own will, but it does not contain good and evil, and if it does not generate a tendency to benefit. Whether it is infinite monthly reading, infinite Izanagi, or the path Zanyi wants to take. Both are more practical than Yahiko's path. Even if it is blackening Nagato, if you want to collect tailed beasts and then create a 10-tailed version of nuclear deterrence, it is more feasible than Yahiko's way. HMPH, heard very interesting things, you guys, about peace. Hanzo stands behind many ninjas. Since World War II, he has cherished his life and instinctively protected himself. To this end, he did not hesitate to arrange fake and real substitutes. He opened his mouth with a sneer. Once upon a time, he also thought so and pursued peace, but it was useless. Genie, if that's the case, it's up to you to find a way to execute Yahiko. You have to represent Gen and show sincerity. Hanzo stared at Zanyi coldly. Understood, Hanzo-sama, leave it to me, please stand back a little. Zanyi glanced at Xiaonan, who was knocked unconscious, and then started to seal. Transformation. Boom. Hey, that redhead over there, if you want to save this woman, use this kunai to kill Yahiko. Nagato looked up in disbelief, and just as he saw, Hanzo threw a kunai. Chapter 97-Dawn of the Dawn, it's not too much to cut a toe, right? Is Yahiko worthy of admiration? Of course it is worth it. An idealist, in this dark and chaotic ninja world, is one of the few warmth. But unfortunately, the idealist's vulnerability to doers with strength and purpose is unquestionable. All Yahiko died. His heart was ashes, and in despair he didn't even know how to face this cruel reality, let alone face this bloody truth. Nagato, live with Xiaonan, if it's you, with the eyes of a fairy, you can definitely do it. Yahiko bumped into kunai in Nagato's hand and said so. And then fell forever. Nagato watched this scene with trembling all over. He lowered his head in disbelief, looked at kunai, who was covered in blood, and turned to look at Yahiko, who had lost his life. The whole person is stupid. Even more dumbfounded than Nagato, it was Hanzo. Bastard, what did you do? Hanzo was trembling with anger, looking at Zanyi, who had transformed into himself in anger. Sorry, Hanzo-sama, isn't this what you asked me to do? You want me to find a way to kill Yahiko. I don't use my appearance to kill. Hanzo was furious, feeling that he had been fooled by a kid. Zanyi slowly stepped back, released the transformation technique, and looked meaningfully at Hanzo, who was full of killing intent. Lord Hanzo, I have completed the task you posted, and I have also cleared a core member of the Akatsuki organization for you. Now, it's time for you to show your sincerity. If we are rooted, we will leave. Zanyi said. Damn bastard. Hanzo's eyes were bloodshot. In World War II, he didn't lose his energy, and he killed all the guys who dared to fool him in minutes. But now, not anymore. Swish swish. The root ninjas left the cliff, and under Schwanni's order, they did their best and ran wildly. Nagato is going crazy. If he doesn't run, he will die. HMPH, how do these guys feel like they're running for their lives? Danzo's subordinates are nothing more than this kind of stuff. Hanzo sneered, his mood improved a little, and he was about to give an order to let the rain ninjas besiege Nagato and completely destroy the Akatsuki organization. Ah! A shrill roar sounded, and the terrifying chakra erupted, freezing countless rainwater into the air at that time. The weather changed briefly. What? Is this power from that red-haired kid? Hanzo jumped in his heart. Go ahead and kill him. All the rain ninjas were dispatched immediately, and hundreds of elites rushed towards Nagato from all directions. But Nagato was just holding on to the kunai, staring blankly at Yahiko's corpse. He is crazy. Accompanied by the terrifying chakra, the pupil power in those eyes turned into spirals visible to the naked eye, overflowing in all directions. Instinctively, he used all his strength, just thinking about killing everyone in front of him. The art of psychic. Boom. Outlaw Golem. The huge outsider golem was summoned, and at the same time began to extract the vitality of Nagato as energy. What is this? Some kind of unknown psychic beast, so huge. Hurry up, no matter what technique this is, it's no problem to kill that guy. Many rain ninjas killed the past. But the next moment, an illusory dragon suddenly emerged from the outsider golem, rushing towards the rain ninjas in a frantic roar. As long as it is touched, the soul is taken away on the spot. In just an instant, the rain ninjas died in large numbers, terrified. What kind of magic is this? Don't get caught up by that thing, you will die. The rain ninjas started to flee. Nagato roared like crazy, hysterically driving the heretic golem and slaughtering the enemy. In particular, there is only Hanzo in his eyes. It's you, it's all you. It's you who killed Yahiko. Nagato roared, the whole person staggered, dragging the outsider golem to move. I didn't kill it, damn it, why should I explain to you this brat, and your eyes? Hanzo ignored his slaughtered subordinates, and had nowhere to vent his anger. He was attracted by Nagato's strange eyes. It's actually the eye of reincarnation. I didn't expect that this kind of eye really exists in this world. It is said that the supreme eye possessed by the 6 immortals. Hanzo's expression remained indifferent, but in his heart, he could not wait to slash that root ninja with 1,000 swords. If you kill an owner of immortal eyes like Nagato, it's okay to kill them. Now it's obviously impossible to kill them. It's impossible for Hanzo to fight with the owner of immortal eyes. The current situation is so strange. Little devil. Die. Hanzo had no choice but to run away with the instant body technique. There are dead bodies everywhere. Nagato drove the outsider golem, pouring out his own vitality, and he was going crazy. He watched Hanzo run away, and then glanced at Xiaonan, who fell to the ground in a coma. Yahiko is dead, can't he even avenge Yahiko? At this time, when Nagato was in pain and blamed himself. Zanyi appeared again, of course a clone. If you are an outsider golem, it's not too much to cut off one of his toes. Zanyi quietly drilled a head out of the ground and stared at the huge outsider golem very greedily. He touched the toes of the outsider golem and made a light ding sound, and the outsider golem was unharmed. It's really troublesome. This thing is too hard, and this clone of mine has limited strength, and I can't use means such as Godzilla's coat. Zanyi sighed. He has been found by Nagato. Transformation. Boom. Hanzo, you bastard, how dare you come back? Bury for Yahiko, die for me. Nagato roared, and the illusory dragon attacked again. Hanzo, who was running in the distance, shuddered violently. Zanyi directly disbanded the clone. At the same time, another clone took the opportunity to attack Yahiko's body, grabbed it, and ran away immediately. Yahiko's corpse cannot be made into the way of heaven by Nagato, he still has great use. By the time Nagato came back to his senses, it was too late. Yahiko's body was taken away by Zanyi. Nagato stared at Samsara, trying to lock Zanyi's position, to chase after him. But his vitality has been rapidly depleted, his blood-red hair has a hint of gray, and the whole person has become skinny, and it is becoming more and more difficult to drive the outsider golem. She could only shelter Xiaonan first, and she let out a desperate cry from where she was. Xueni dragged Yahiko's body and successfully escaped. The outsider golem is really an interesting thing, find a chance to start with this thing. Zanyi found a place, sat down to rest, and looked at Yahiko, who had already died. Yahiko's face, at this moment, can still vaguely see the deep despair. The dream of a lifetime is shattered. The world is so cruel. Xueni stretched out his hand and closed Yahiko's eyes. Yahiko was of great use to him. Moreover, considering that there is still a place like the Pure Land in this world. If Xueni is fortunate enough to enter the Pure Land in the future, it is possible to retrieve Yahiko's soul together. Does the Pure Land come from the ninja world, or since the birth of the earth, or was it born after the 6 immortals sealed the Mother Kagaya 1,000 years ago? Zanyi has always been interested in this, and it involves a lot of things. He took out a scroll and sealed Yahiko's body inside. At this moment. Looks like you've succeeded. Obito suddenly appeared. If Yahiko dies, no one can cover Nagato's eyes. Nagato should also be deeply aware of the ugliness of this world. Zanyi sat under a tree. I'm very interested in that thing called an outsider golem. I originally thought it was used by Madara to prolong its life, but I didn't expect it to be channeled. There are still many things you don't know. The outsider golem is the shell and carrier used to carry the 9-tailed beast, and the 10-tailed beast is his true identity. Obito said coldly. Whoa. Never got out of the ground. Nagato is too crazy. I don't dare to approach at all. I will be killed by him if I'm not careful. Then wait, after he calms down, we will go to him. It is also time to start building a new Akatsuki organization. There is no naivety, only the realistic Akatsuki organization. Obito said with a sneer. After a long time. The three of them meet Nagato again. Swish. 3 rings were thrown over. This is the ring I made with the Eye of Reincarnation. It has the breath of an outsider golem. It can be used to contact and seal the tailed beast. Don't lose it. Nagato sat on a stone chair, his eyes empty. Xiaonan's eyes were red, and he looked at Zanyi and the 3 of them vigilantly. It seems that you finally understand that this wrong world needs to be corrected. If you could have listened to me back then, Yahiko wouldn't have died. The 3-hook jade in Obito's eyes kept spinning, and he was very satisfied. Nagato, who had lost a lot of weight, said indifferently, Yahiko's death will bring the dawn of peace. I have clearly realized this, and I will bury him with countless lives, including of course. That damn bastard Hanzo. Quote. That's right. However, Obito threw the jade ring back. We will all join the Shao organization, but I can't show up for the time being. You know it, otherwise it will only bring a lot of unnecessary trouble to the Shao organization. I will hide in the dark and assist you in your actions. Obito said coldly. Absolutely put Zan's ring on his finger. The empty character ring, does it symbolize nothingness, but how should I wear it? Everyone saw that Shujung wrapped the empty ring with a black robe, looking a little embarrassed. Quote. Obito fell silent. Forget it, just put it on my head, it's fine to use it anyway. The black robe automatically, without wind, pushed the ring into the mask with a click. Then, the initial members of Akatsuki's organization are the 5 of us. Although we use each other, our ultimate goals are roughly the same. Obito starts talking about the 2-tie and the unlimited monthly reading plan. No, things like infinite moon are unreliable, the illusory world is not what I pursue. Nagato sneered, I want to collect all the tailed beasts, just like you did with the first Hokage. I will use this strength, to deter all nations and ninja villages. Tailed beast deterrence, this method is not impossible, if the time fails, it will be too late to implement my method. Obito nodded, and the entire figure began to disappear. Nagato's eyes narrowed, and this time, he still failed to catch the trail of Obito. So, Chief, what is our first task? Wei Guai smiled. The first task is to kill Hanzo, find the body of Yahiko that he stole, and then find one of Hanzo's subordinates, the guy who destroyed Yahiko's belief. I am very interested in him. Nagato's eyes appeared with a slight fluctuation. The pupil power is slowly rising. Zanyi. Any revenge? No, if you want to take revenge, you just need to kill Hanzo. Hanzo's subordinates seem to have a very good understanding of peace. I need him. Zanyi was silent. But forget it. The current Nagato, his legs are not broken like in the original book, and the level of terror has risen sharply. Hanzo is in trouble. After Zanyi left the country of Rain with his false identity. It seems that we need to speed up the development of Mu-Dun, otherwise the virtual clone is too weak and can easily be killed. Zanyi carefully checked the empty ring on the mask and shook his head. Chapter 98 _ The Door of Death, The Ware of Death and Wood-Dun Reproduction. 14,000 words for order today. What happened in the Land of Rain did not cause any waves in Konoha village. For Konoha villagers, the Land of Rain is just a small country that is not worth mentioning, and it is the core battle zone of the Western Front War. Occasionally, there are guys with unobstructed news channels who know that Hanzo is attacking a local armed organization, but they don't care. Even Danzo thought so. Really, that guy Hanzo actually lost so many people. How did the members of the Akatsuki organization do it? Danzo leaned on a cane and looked at his disciple calmly. I don't know, it looks very much like Dan Kato's spiritual transformation technique, which can directly attack the soul. But Dan has been dead for a long time. Zanyi opened his mouth to answer, but also showed a puzzled look. Broken. Tuanzang's eyes showed a trace of doubt, stared at him for a while, and then nodded slightly. Forget it, that guy Hanzo has become more and more timid and incompetent. He has a terrifying strength, but his mind has long since fallen. Danzang snorted coldly. I have already said hello to Orochimaru about you, and he will take care of you properly, but don't get too close to that poisonous snake. Thank you, teacher. Zanyi raised his eyebrows. Is it a matter of lifespan? Orochimaru, that guy is the commander of the Western Front. Calculate the time, the Battle of Kikyoyama should almost break out. Zanyi estimated. The Third Ninja World War was basically over after 4 years of fighting. The sign of the end was that Konoha won the Battle of Kikyoyama. After being pushed to the entrance of the village by Yanin and Sandin together, Konoha barely won. However, the complete end of the entire 3 wars will be pushed back for another 3 years. During these 3 years, the Nine-Tails Rebellion broke out, and the Minato and his wife died in battle. The pharmacist No Nayu sneaked into Yanin village and was killed. Hinata being targeted by Yunren eventually led to the forced suicide of Hyuga Ripa. The suicide incident of Hyuga Rizai was the real end of the aftermath of the whole 3 wars, and the ninja world ushered in a few years of precious peace. After the Battle of Kikyoyama, many things have to be prepared, such as the reincarnation of Indra and Asura. Zanyi thought silently. At this time, Danzo said, Rijin is very interested in your subordinate, that guy named Matt Dai, and he insists on mastering him, but the old man can't stop him at all. After all, he is Hokage. This is also true for you. Be careful. After saying that, Danzo turned around and left. Zanyi frowned slightly, walked out of Gen's base, and went directly to the training ground. He made an appointment with Kazuki and Kai to practice at the training ground. At the training ground, Zanyi saw that Kazu was talking to a cat. Psychic beasts. I heard that the Uchiha clan is very close to the cat clan. Zanyi put his hands in his pockets, walked slowly, and glanced at the cat with interest. Meow tilde, are you Lord Xueni? Your name is also circulating in our cat family, the strongest genius who once fought against the 3 tails. The cat kept licking its hands and then rubbing its head, looking harmless. Well, it's all false names. Zhan Yi nodded. Yue smiled and said, we often buy weapons and equipment from the cat family. The weapons made by the cat mother are very popular in the whole ninja world. Zhan Yi-song, do you want to buy some too? There are discounts. Zhan Yi shook his head. We don't need weapons, but I need some experimental equipment. If the cat clan can get it for me, we can cooperate. Meow tilde no problem. We are not good at making experimental equipment, but we can get it for you. The price is a little higher, because we have to make some difference. But we will keep your personal information strictly confidential. Well, then I'll trouble you. The experimental instruments I need are. Zhan Yi asked the cat to record it. Kazuki took out the treasured cat food and poured it out. Meow, the latest cat food. The cat's eyes glowed. Suddenly, the dust was flying. Oh, Zhan Yi-song, I haven't seen you for a while. Have you finally completed the mission? Kai was running upside down and running in a circle, rushing roaringly. He rolled over and sat on the ground with his buttocks. He was hungry. When he saw Yue holding a small cookie in his hand, he grabbed it without saying a word. Grab the cat food with your dirty hands and chew it before the cat. Ha 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 ha, this smells a little weird, but it's not bad. Zhan Yi-song, would you like some? Quote. Quote. Ha, gasp. Ninja cat frowned, trembling with anger, and cold hands and feet. What the hell is going on in this world? Are humans going to grab food from cats? But forget it, if only let this stupid human eat a little. I am done. Are you gone? Kay threw the box aside and hiccuped. Yes, damn it. What the mother-in-law said was true. The only enemies of cats are dogs. Master Xuanyi, these things just now. We will let Yue inform you when we get them. Ninja was annoyed, rushed up and scratched Kai's paw, and then disappeared with a bang. Quote. What happened to that cat just now? So strange. Kai covered his face. Don't worry about it, it's just a cute little thing that has encountered a major obstacle in life. Zhan Yi said lightly. Kai scratched his head in confusion. Zhan Yi-song, let's start practicing, we haven't had a contest for a long time. Why didn't I see Senior die? At this time, he should be running around Konoha with you. Zhan Yi suddenly said. Ah, father, I took a mission to patrol in the Land of Fire this morning. Wuyin lost the battle, but they still didn't give up. There are often teams sneaking into the Land of Fire to destroy. Kai said. Zhan Yi made a move, frowning slightly. Understood, today's training is cancelled, I'll go out for a while. Zhan Yi didn't say much, and left immediately. Strange. What is Zhan Yi-song going to do? Kai became more and more confused. Kazuki was also surprised. Relying on the identity of the route, Zhan Yi checked day's patrol mission records, left Konoha directly, and went deep into the forest of the Land of Fire. The Genma squad is on a mission. They kept traversing the forest, searching for traces of the Kuriga's ninja. Although the Western Front war is over, the gang of desperados from Kurigakushi still appear from time to time, and some sporadic ninjas infiltrate the country of fire. This forced Konoha's side to separate out some ninjas, who were specially responsible for sniping at the gang of Kurigakushi. The Xuanjian squad is a member of these patrol units. When will these misty hidden guys be able to settle down? Ebisu pushed on the sunglasses very irritably, and grabbed a piece of grass and put it in his mouth. Cough cough, this is something that can't be helped. I heard that their 3 generations of water shadows were seriously injured by the joint efforts of Jiraiya and Xuanyi, and they have not been able to recover now. Quote. Moonlight Blast coughed desperately. Ebisu sighed. Xuanyi, I really can't imagine that guy has grown to such a stage that he can have a huge impact on the situation of a war. I think I tried my best to find a way to surpass his theory. What about the grades? Moonlight Blast coughed, and his eyes were a little erratic. Indeed, none of them thought that 13-year-old Zhan Yi could make such an achievement. Although, I heard that it was done with forbidden techniques, but even this is very scary. Not to mention, at this age, if he can learn one-handed forbidden art, he has surpassed too many people. Many ninjas never touch the forbidden art in their entire lives. Xuanjian, why don't you speak? What are you thinking? I'm thinking about how to deal with that guy, really. I originally hoped that he wouldn't die, and that he could leave a bloodline boundary that can be inherited by the Shiranui clan, so that our clan can also be revitalized. Xuanjian held 1,000 copies in his mouth and looked up at the sky. Before he knew it, his patriarch had been left far behind. With Xuanyi around, no one in the Shiranui clan would dare to despise him. Just like the senior White Fang, when he was alive, the Hitaki clan was the Konoha clan, and neither Uchiha nor Hinata dared to look down upon him. Ebisu said. That's what I said. Zanjian stretched. Continue the patrol mission, it's really troublesome. Suddenly. Be careful. Yugong Gale's expression changed, and he kicked Zanjian out with a ruthless kick. Boom. A loud bang. Blasting knife and the droplet slammed into Xuanma's position just now, causing a terrifying explosion. HMPH, being avoided. You guys just talked about a name that made me very uncomfortable. Wuli Jinba sneered and looked at the three little devils in front of him with vicious eyes. That's right, Shiranui Xuanyi, that vicious nuclear escape kid, but he killed a lot of our comrades. I really want to string him up and sew him up. Xuanji and three people. One after another figure began to appear. Until the moment when a fat figure appeared, waving a huge shark muscle. The Xuanjian three-person team showed deep despair on their faces. Well, are these guys just? It's over. It's the hidden Misty Seven. The Captain Xuanjian had a hint of fear on his face. How could this be? With the 7 knives of Karayan, the average is the level of elite Junin. Why did they encounter these monsters? Damn, we're really unlucky. Zanjian gave a wry smile. No, you are very lucky, little devil. If you can meet the 7 of us and act together, even if you die, you should rest your eyes. Zigwashan Pufferfish sneered. I heard that you are still the clan of the nuclear kid. Then, even better, I will cut you into a human stick with my shark muscle, presumably that kid's face will be very exciting. Go ahead, the souls of my comrades are howling. My beheading sword is already hungry. Loquat Shazang sneered, showing a terrifying smile, with a deep tyranny. The 7 of them will never forget the original battle. The situation that was originally good was suffocated by Shiranui Xuanyi. I don't know how many people died in Zanyi's hands. The silent killing technique they were so proud of was in Zanyi's hands, and it was directly defeated, which became a joke. In addition, the forbidden technique that defeated the 3 generations of water shadows. This slap directly hit the faces of all the Kurigakushi ninjas. As long as Xuanyi was alive, it would be a humiliation to the entire Kurigakushi. HMPH, don't be kidding, do you guys in the fog have the concept of companions? Moonlight Gale pulled out 2 knives, and his body began to gradually become transparent. Through the escape swordsmanship, this is all the power he can use, although the effect is very small. That's right, but we're trying to pretend we have company. The group of 7 let out terrifying laughter and moved with a bang. Killing intent pervades. At this moment. Youth Sonata, guys of Mist, we meet again. Dai ruthlessly kicked over, and once again kicked the hapless Wuli Jinba with precision. Dai, who was under the 7 sects, was brewing a unique sense of oppression. It's you again, using a strange technique. When the enemy met, he was extremely jealous. Anger and jealousy appeared on the faces of the 7 members of Wuyin immediately. Especially Wuli Jinba, who was kicked by Dai successively, was going crazy. When they were on the battlefield, the 7 of them wanted to find a chance to kill Zanyi, but they were stopped by this guy who was full of inexplicable words like youth. Your technique is nothing more than ninjutsu, but I have never seen you use other ninjutsu. Could it be that you only have this one? Then you will die soon, and we will never be blocked by a single technique. Twice. The grass and wild-bait person directly smashed it with a dull knife. Daimwa dodged, and led the three of Xuanjian back quickly, with a solemn expression. Senior Dai, run away. With your ability, you will be able to escape. Call the reinforcements to save us. Xuanjian growled. Matde, a follower of Xuanyi, had no reason to die here. Otherwise, he doesn't know how to explain to Zanyi. Could it be that your powerful subordinate died in battle to save the life of a mediocre person? If you can't escape, and you have to win no matter what, you can only use that thing. Sorry, Zanyi Song, I'm going to violate the promise of youth. Dai clenched his fists and took a deep breath. Although, Zanyi repeatedly stressed that the last door could never be opened without his permission. But if it is used here, for the sake of 3 hopeful young people, sacrificing myself, this Mesozoic. It seems worth it. Young people are the future. Not to mention, among these 3 young people, there is still Shiranui Xuanjian, who is the only remaining clan member of Xuanyi, who has been playing since childhood. If there is only one person left in the family, Zan Yisong will also feel lost. This is not good. 8 gates Dunjia dead gate open. Dai let out a roar. The last door of the 8 gates of Dunjia, at this moment, was completely complete and came to the absolute end. The blood all over his body began to burn, turning into terrifying red steam, the explosive power that ignited the air, almost boiling. The violent impact turned into a terrifying hurricane, tearing everything apart. Senior Dai, what are you doing? What are you doing? Zan Jian's eyes turned red. Baman Dunjia knew that after Dai became famous on the Eastern Front, the name of this forbidden technique spread. A dead end. Just hearing the name makes people uneasy, and then looking at the blood spilling out of Dai Na's body. For these guys. Senior Dai, you don't need to be on mediocrity like us. No, that's not the case. Now is the time to burn youth, otherwise there will be no chance. Boys, never underestimate yourself, because I am the most mediocre person in the world. I can do it. You must also do things, work hard and struggle, desperately work hard for your dreams. This is the youth you have. Dai roared, his eyes were almost burned out, and in the last few seconds of his life, he did everything he could to rush towards the group of 7 people. 8 gates Dunjia formation. Dai took a ruthless kick and kicked Wu Lijinba. What the hell is going on with this guy? Wu Lijinba screamed. He was hit, and he was almost kicked in half. What happened in this lightning bolt made the remaining 6 people almost go crazy. They ran away without any hesitation. Because I had already seen Daikai Kimon's eruption, on the psychological level, I had a little more mental preparation. Not being frightened by Bamandai, the moment Wuli Jinba was kicked to pieces, they began to flee in a hurry. This is not an enemy we can deal with at all. Matadai, such a guy is just the subordinate of Xuanyi who doesn't know fire. Damn it, it's all monsters. Go away, Loquat Shazang, don't block my way. The watermelon mountain puffer fish's anxious eyes were all red, and the shark muscles were stretched out, and the Loquat Shazang was smashed with a single blow. His chubby figure was faster than expected. Damn. Loquat Shazang ran in a different direction. 6 people fled in 6 directions. Second. The panic on Tongsao Yebiran's face was frozen forever, and his head was shattered by a punch. But at this moment, Dai has no chance to kill the 3rd person. In the face of the 7 people who fled so decisively, being able to kill 2 is already his limit. Unfortunately, the blood-colored steam on Dai's body slowly disappeared, and his whole body was charred black. He stood up straight, his back turned to Zanjian and the others who were frightened, raised his arm on the side, and gave a thumbs up. Everything is frozen at this moment. The flame of his life began to slowly die out. Senior Dai. Has he already? The 3 of Xuanjian stared blankly at this scene, tears streaming down their faces. Actually, how could this be? Woo-woo, Senior Dai burned himself just to save us. Woo-woo. Zanjian started to cry. He really felt that he was not worthy of being saved by a strong man like Dai. Don't cry, Tisk, I didn't expect things to turn out like this. I clearly reminded him. A voice suddenly came. Zanyi's figure slammed down, and the fierce wind slapped his collar. Zanyi, I didn't expect this, sorry. Zanjian lowered his head deeply. Sorry, Xuanyi, Ebisu turned his head away, trembling all over. But Zanyi ignored them, instead squatted down and observed Day's state. The signs of life are about to disappear. It's all up to the last breath. If you use Ludao Yangdun, you can save it, but I don't have that kind of thing. I can only take the risk and try it. Zanyi sighed, although he had to experiment with that thing sooner or later, it was something he didn't expect to use until now. He would never have thought that one of the important reasons that drove Mr. Dai to die generously was to desperately protect Xuanjian, his last clan or relative. Zanyi put a hand on Dai Na's body, which was almost burned to coke. He wanted to try the technique that only imagined, but never did any practice or attempt. The possibility of destroying the original individual and transforming it into an entirely new species. Godzilla. Rebirth. Chapter 99-Blackwood Escape and Kill. Xuanjian, take your team back to the village immediately. Oh, bring back these 2 knives as well. Zanyi pointed to the explosive and dull knives on the ground. What about you? Cough cough. Moonlight Gale asked. Mr. Day's business can't be left alone. Zanyi made a pun. Genma had already silently picked up the 2 knives on the ground, dragged Moonlight Gale and Ebisu, and left without saying a word. They're here now, and after all, they're just a burden. After Xuanjian and the others left, Zanyi's palm resting on Day's body finally started to exert force. The technique of reproduction and rebirth, to tell the truth, everything is just an idea. It is a technique that he imagined by combining various information and materials from previous lives. It was originally planned to be used many years later, at least after the successful reincarnation of Chakra of Indra and Ashura, he would find a chance to experiment. I didn't expect it to work on you. Try it. Next moment. Immediately, layers of concave and convex substances appeared on Zanyi's body surface, which belonged to Godzilla's power. The next moment, Zanyi directly extended this power into Day's body. This process is a process of forcibly changing Day's original life form and turning it into a brand new life form. If I have another Godzilla in my body, I really can't do this, but if it is a planetary Godzilla, there is no problem. The next moment, a steady stream of Godzilla's life tissue poured into Day's body, constantly replacing Day's original organs and changing Day's body structure. Planet Godzilla binds and controls the existence of an entire ecosystem. All animals and plants must simulate and adapt to Planet Godzilla and evolve. What Zanyi has to do now is to speed up the process and transform Dai into that kind of creature. After a while, when Zanyi raised his hand, Day's whole body has been wrapped and penetrated by that layer of permeating and covering power. Everything has been revised and corrected. Zanyi also took this opportunity to gain a deeper understanding of Godzilla's power, and initially mastered the ability to control Godzilla's biological organization. The life is temporarily saved, but the correction of the DNA will take some time. Zanyi looked at it for a while and nodded slightly. Fortunately, Dai has no room for resistance now, and his body has lost the instinct to resist, so it is easy to accept transformation. In this case, Dai's life is saved, and there are other things to deal with. Zanyi stood up slowly, a hint of coldness flashed in his eyes. Matt Dai, but the guards and dead men he liked. In the past, no matter how troublesome he encountered, Zanyi always suppressed Dai and forbid him to open the door of death. But now, he just went to the country of rain to perform a mission, and Dai was used by the senior management and directly consumed here. Although this can't be wrong, but from my point of view, it still feels bad. This account. Zanyi snorted coldly, looked up, and said, Baiju, get out. A Baiju immediately emerged from a distance. I didn't get close to you this time, your power is too dangerous for me. Don't talk nonsense, become die and lie here until you are buried in a coffin by the villagers. Zan Yi ordered. Bai Ju was a little dissatisfied, but he could only whisper, and obediently turned into Dai's charred appearance, lying on the ground pretending to be dead. Zan Yi directly picked up the changing Dai, turned around and ran to a secret base that was under construction. Dai has already opened the door to death, and in principle he must die, which just happened to let Matt Dai, who was in the midst of a new life, turn into the dark. So as not to be held by the fellows of the Konoha Elders group, there will be another burst of coercion. By the way, there are still a few fledglings, and we have to find a way to clean up. Zan Yi walked into an extremely rough basement, and after putting Dai there, he directly separated his avatar. Put on a mask with an empty ring inlaid, and put on a black robe. The mysterious masked man, the void of emptiness, is online. Out of the 7 people, Dai killed 2, and there are still 5 left. It will take some time to kill them, but considering the initial grasp of Godzilla's biological organization ability, it is not impossible to kill them all. The virtual figure slowly merged into the ground and started tracking. The remaining 5 members of the 7 people were all scared crazy, and each chose a direction to flee in a panic. After escaping for a long time, he found that Dai hadn't caught up, and his beating heart gradually returned to normal. Didn't you catch up? What happened in that scene just now? Wuli Jinba and Tongsao Yebiran were killed in an instant. That kind of power that burns everything in an instant. Among the 5 people, some were continuing to run away, while others, after running for a distance, began to change direction and meet each other. Lo Kuat Shizang and Li Hun Chuanwan got together and looked at each other with deep fear on their faces. Maddie, why is that gibberish guy so terrifying? Enough, there's no need to worry about this kind of thing. With that level of forbidden art, that guy is absolutely dead. Well, the mission has failed, we just need to live, let's go back to the village. The 2 discussed, there was a feeling of the rest of their lives. Going back to the village now. I think the 2 of you can stay and continue your mission until you die. A voice suddenly sounded beside them. Swish. Lo Kuat Shizang slashed horizontally for the first time, and the huge beheading knife slammed into it. Kurihara Kushimaru also moved quickly, and his long knife and needle threw out a large amount of silk thread. But after all of this fell on the other party, it failed to produce any effect. He slashed with a big knife, cut off the opponent in the middle, only cut off some black robes, but failed to cut any real flesh and blood. The same is true of the silk thread that permeates the past. Click. They saw that the white mask fell to the ground. It's not Matt, that's fine, but what is this thing with a strange mask? Some kind of incorporeal puppet art. Kuri Arashimaru jumped up to a tree, surprised. Don't you also wear a mask, and your mask is obviously more strange. Under the horrified gaze of the 2 of them, the mask shook for a while, and then, floated, again, pulling at the few remaining black robes. The clothes are torn again. Figure out a way to make a self-regenerating suit. They saw the mask talking to itself. The height of this damn thing has been lowered, and the height is determined by the clothes. Then destroy all the black robes. No, the mask is the body, maybe the word, empty, is the core of this thing. The 2 looked cold and stern, and shot decisively. They couldn't figure out the situation of the enemy in front of them, but their fierce temperament drove them to kill them first. At this moment, Shu slowly raised his head and looked at these 2 guys. The faces behind the masks were already full of endless indifference. Don't be too confident, just use the 2 of you, and experiment with the techniques I use with this body. The white mask trembled slightly for a moment. The next moment, an astonishing chakra burst out, and what really made the 7 people feel horrified was what happened later. Wooden. The art of thorns. In an instant, one after another of terrifying black thorns, exuding a terrifying depth, suddenly emerged from under the black robe, and suddenly rushed towards Lo Kuat Shizang and Li Hao Xuanwan. What? Wooden. How could it be a wood? And it's still a black wood. Loquat Shazang and Li Hunchuanmaru widened their eyes and roared wildly in disbelief. Only that man, the first Hokage, the god of ninjas, has mutton. Why is this weird mask in front of me mastering the wooden escape technique? This is impossible, something like Mu-dun. Must be some kind of illusion. Loquat Shazang roared angrily, raised his beheading knife horizontally, and slashed down with a ghastly face. Ding! A loud bang. It seemed to be the sharp sound of two metals colliding. Quote question mark question mark question mark. The Loquat Tibetans were all stupid, looked at their beheading sword in disbelief, and then glanced at it again. It was just a thorn with a crack. Is this Mu-dun? This is wood. Loquat Shazang and Li Ranwan were shocked and angry. Who can make wood harder than metal? This is Mu-dun, two fools. The plants I made are probably a little tougher than the wood you think. Shu said slowly, and at the same time, he began to try to use biological tissue to imitate the black robe to make a qualified coat. And it did so successfully. He put on a new black suit. Void, the great tailor. Who are you, the ninja of Konoha? I've never heard of you. Kurihara Kushimaru became more and more vigilant, feeling that he was in big trouble. No, my name is Shu, and I don't belong to any ninja village now. It doesn't make sense to ask this. Anyway, you guys are going to die soon. More thorns began to emerge from Shu's body. Looking around, there were a dozen or so. In the rapid swing, he struck hard and rushed towards the two of them one after another. At the same time, the black wooden dung has the characteristics of hardness and sharpness, and it has the power to penetrate everything, and it also has the huge chakra of the virtual itself to control. In just an instant, the dense wire mesh laid out by Kuri Hakuanwan was pierced, and it was all cut off with a single sweep. Loquat Shazang roared angrily, wielding a beheading sword vigorously and slashing. Really, a beheading sword is indeed a good heavy weapon, but how long can this rubbish sword last? With a masked face, people can't see any eyes or feel any line of sight, but only the terrifying coldness and indifference are real. Wooden, black wood wall. A large number of black trees drilled out of the ground and moved in all directions, surrounding the two who were facing the thorns and trying to find a chance to escape. This time, you will not be able to escape. All die. Wood escape, the technique of big trees. A huge black giant tree rushed out from the ground, and its branches swayed, and the leaves on each branch were sharper than expected. With a little touch, the human flesh and blood will be cut off on the spot. No, it's impossible, it's really mutton, such a ridiculous thing. Who the hell are you? Could it be that you are the first Hokage? The two tried their best and roared to resist, but faced with this strange, unheard of black wooden escape, and they were seriously lacking in intelligence, they quickly fell into a disadvantage. After a long time, all I could hear was two shrill screams in the countless strange pure black woods. Immediately, everything fell silent. Chapter 100_Horror Wood Escape, False Name. Loquat Shazang and Li Hunchuanwan died, and were killed by the virtual black wood. These two people tried their best to use the ninja swords in their hands, slashing and interspersing frantically, trying to penetrate these strange black trees and find a way to survive. But it is a pity that all their efforts are so pale in front of the black trees that are constantly growing. These black trees are really terrifying, with both hardness and sharpness. Even a small leaf on a black tree is sharper than a sharp blade. The two people who were squeezed layer by layer by a large number of black trees, in the end, failed to escape and were killed by a large number of trees. It's the first time to use this wooden dungeon, and it feels good. It's easier to use than I imagined. Looking at the black woods, I felt satisfied. He must be satisfied that this is the first time he uses this biological tissue to fight, and it is good enough to achieve this kind of achievement. You must know that in the world where the planet Godzilla is located, the entire Earth is filled with these dangerous plants, whether it is trees or grasses, or even very strange animals, all have this characteristic. That's the terrifying, only plant-based Godzilla of planet Godzilla. However, there are also many shortcomings. The power of the virtual present, the hardness and toughness of the wood evasion plants produced are limited, because it is only a preliminary grasp, and if you want to issue a more powerful wood evasion technique, you still need to go a long way. Using this so-called wood escape, the chakra loss is too huge. It's really a huge consumption. Just by creating these dangerous plants, 1/3 of the chakra of this special clone is consumed. Fortunately, he can continue to manufacture, as long as the mental force supports it. Chakra's reply is not a big problem, but the problem is, as long as there is no high-intensity battle, there is no problem, but if there is an ultra-high-intensity battle, you must prepare in advance. Looking at the Black Forest, these plants not only do not give people a sense of vitality, but have a deep sense of serenity, which makes people feel uneasy at first glance. This is just a mini grove composed of a dozen small trees and a big tree. If a large tree world like the first Hokage arrives, false, the 8 achievements will show signs of disintegration. He began to recover these black trees, looked down at the 2 people who were in a miserable state of death, pondered for a moment, and sealed the corpse into the scroll. There are 3 left. The virtual erratic began to move, and the speed was astonishingly fast, and began to track the whereabouts of the remaining 7 people. At this time, the other 3 did not know that 2 of their companions were killed, and they just fled in a hurry. I plan to leave the country of fire directly, find the big ship in Wuyin village, and return to the country of water. However, she was constantly tracking their whereabouts, like a terrifying ghost that exists in this world. I won't let you run away. I'll do what that guy didn't accomplish. He raised his mask, and the pale mask was filled with a deep sense of indifference. He found a target. The Black Ho Thunder Fang, the owner of the Thunder Blade. HMPH, it seems safe in this way, the lunatic didn't catch up. I don't know if the others are dead. Black Ho Leia's eyes were gloomy. But the next moment, his face changed, and when he saw the front, there was a white mask that suddenly emerged from a tree. The mask's eyebrows were inlaid with something, revealing the word, empty. I've found you, the fellow of the hidden Misty 7, go and accompany your dead companion. A team should be neat and tidy. Void said so. Get started right away. A series of wooden thorns suddenly rushed out and fought fiercely with the Black Ho Leia. The huge roar was covered by even more amazing thunder. I, the Thunder Man of Hidden Mist, will never be defeated by a weird guy like you. And this kind of wood. The Black Ho Leia panicked in his heart. As we all know, only the first Hokage can control the wooden dung. This is a unique limit of blood. Why is this masked man able to use the wooden dungeon? Moreover, it is still a black wooden scorpion, and the trees produced are very strange. Black Ho Leia is destined to have no chance to verify. He swung the thunder knife desperately, and a lot of thunder surged. The terrifying power that should have ripped everything apart did not have a great effect in front of these black trees. Black Ho Leia's living space was being squeezed constantly, and in just a few seconds, he fell into a complete disadvantage. This kind of wooden dug. Who are you? Who are you? Are you a descendant of the Thousand Hands clan? The last strike of the Black Ho Leia slashed into a black tree, and the thunder and lightning roared violently, but it hit a large piece of charred black. His hands hurt. As you guess, die. The next moment, the Black Ho Leia was pierced by several thorns in his chest, which were strung together abruptly. Damn, Black Ho Leia couldn't rest his eyes, he used his last strength. After roaring, he died. This corpse, along with this ninja sword, I accepted. Shu lowered his head and glanced at it, and immediately, he began to converge on the scene and rushed to the next target. Seaside. The last 2 were chased and killed all the way by Shu Ji and fled in embarrassment. The owner of the double knives was also caught by several trees that suddenly grew, and was dragged directly into the ground to kill. Now, there are 7 people in the fog, and you are the only one left, the watermelon mountain puffer fish. Shu looked up at the fat guy in front of him. But, damn, how can this be? Mudun actually appears in the ninja world again. The face of the watermelon mountain pufferfish was already covered in sweat, panic and anxiety shrouded his heart, and the shadow of death hit him crazily. This guy who claimed to be virtual, in front of him killed the other 4 in a row. It's not unacceptable for a genuine wooden dungeon. A ghost. The watermelon mountain puffer ghost carried the shark muscle and fled wildly. Bastard, get out of the way, stay away from me. The watermelon mountain puffer fish has been looking for opportunities, and wants to use the shark muscle to eat the empty chakra. But he took a few risks and approached the shot, and more trees and thorns immediately appeared on Shu's body, and there was no chance to devour chakra at all. Finally, he escaped to the sea. Ghost shark, bring someone to stop this guy behind me. A glimmer of hope flashed in the eyes of Ziguashan pufferfish ghost. If he sacrificed these guys, the ghost sharks might be able to delay the pace of this guy called Void. The ghost shark didn't say a word, just pulled out the samurai sword on his back, and rushed up with a team of ninjas, blocking Shu. Is this Mudden? It's really amazing. I only heard that the first Hokage had the limit of Mudden's blood. The ghost shark's eyes moved slightly, but his expression was extremely indifferent. Only, he brought a few Kurigakushi ninjas to face the guy in front of him. Dried persimmon ghost shark. It's so pathetic to work for a guy like that. Shu floated forward, and the wide black robe was dragged to the ground, causing bursts of fine dust. There were even more thorns swaying continuously, easily killing several Wuin, leaving only one ghost shark. Is this Mew done? It's a bit outrageous. The ghost shark's face was dignified, his hands kept forming seals, and he spewed out continuous and powerful water escape ninjutsu. Soon, this area literally turned from flat land to lake. But these attacks failed to cause any damage to the virtual, at least in the ghost shark's view. This guy seems to be just like his name, has no entity, and is not afraid of any form of attack, whether it is ninjutsu or taijutsu, it is useless. Must retreat. The ghost shark quickly retreated and was ready to fight for his life. But he was surprised to find that Shu just stayed where he was and looked at him quietly. Even if he fled to the sea, Shu did not pursue him. Sea water. No, this guy can't be afraid of sea water, so, if the chakra is exhausted, or don't you want to kill me? The ghost shark looked back. For a moment, he had a very strange intuition. This guy called Shu. His actions seemed to be very similar to that called Shiranui Shueni, and he would not kill him. But they were all staring at him. The ghost shark fled all the way, catching up with the full-powered boat. Ghost shark, how did you survive? Zigwa mountain pufferfish ghost was sitting and resting, and his face changed suddenly after seeing the ghost shark. I don't know the reason, but the other party did not kill me. The ghost shark answered honestly. The watermelon mountain puffer fish's eyes rolled around. That's it. There are 7 people in Wuin, and the other 6 are dead. You, the guy who was responsible for resisting the enemy, survived. The ghost shark said nothing, silently found a corner and sat on the ground. HMPH, after returning to the village, I'll see how you can explain it. Even if you are my subordinate, the senior management of those villages will not trust you. Ghost shark, you have to be prepared. Watermelon mountain puffer ghosts are crazy hints. The ghost shark responded to him with silence, but the inadvertently obscure gaze occasionally fell on the watermelon mountain puffer ghost. Following a guy like this. Is it really sad? Ghost shark pondered silently. Time goes by. The watermelon mountain puffer ghost immediately reported the virtual matter of the Mudden ninja. Naturally, this caused a huge shock. Everyone who heard the news didn't believe it at all. Mew done. Impossible. Mew done has disappeared for decades. From the Warring States period to the present, only the first Hokage has mastered the wooden escape. The strange name Shu, could it be true? Shut up, that one is definitely dead, and that one named Uchiha Madara has all died one after another, and it is impossible to resurrect. The high-level Misty Hidden is slightly uneasy. Suddenly such a powerful wooden ninja appeared. What is going on? This matter must be kept strictly confidential and must not be leaked. We are not yet sure of the enemy's purpose. It didn't take long for the news of the Mudden Ninja to spread throughout the ninja world like the wind.